Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Wearing Books. God-level understanding, perfect start with magical skills. Chapter 1. Baiken Dynasty. Lin Zi, who was handsome in white clothes like snow, was beating his head with pain on his face. Baiken Dynasty, Lin Zi. Isn't this the setting of that broken book? Broken. It took me 18 years to awaken to my past life. If it were any later, the day lily would be cold. Lin Zi traveled to the Tianlin continent where thousands of ethnic groups abounded. In this life, he is the grandson of Lin Ao, the founder of the Baiken dynasty and the god of war in Baiken. His mother was the princess of the Baiken dynasty, and the Baiken emperor, who surpassed tens of millions of people, was his maternal grandfather. Lin Zi, who possesses these two bloodlines at the same time, has an extremely prominent and noble status. It seemed like a perfect start. But in fact, it is full of hidden pits. First of all, the first big pitfall, Lin Zi is the only heir to the Lin family. The Baiken Lin family started with Lin Ao, who had only one wife in his life. The couple had 3 children together. The eldest of 3 sons has a second son. This formed the genealogy chart of the entire 3 generations of the Lin family. In this pedigree, the eldest and second eldest children died on the battlefield. The third child died of illness when he was still young. Lin Zi's brother Lin Jie also died in an accidental war. So of the Lin family, a powerful founding family, only Lin Zi was left alive. You taste it carefully. Lin Zi, who had seen so many power struggles in his previous life, would never believe that this was a coincidence. The reason why Lin Zi is still alive now is just because the Lin family is now such a one-man business, which puts pressure on some people with ulterior motives. Because once Lin Zi dies, then Lin Ao, the Baiken god of war, will completely lose his shackles, become careless, and fall into the final madness. But how long can this fear last? There are unforeseen circumstances, and no one can explain this clearly. Maybe one day, Lin Zi would go down to meet his father and brothers. Secondly, the second big crater, the most important meteorite crater. The world that Lin Zi traveled to was a spicy novel he had read in his previous life. All the characters in that spicy novel are all subdued by the halo of the protagonist, and there is no logic whatsoever. Women don't care, whether they have a grudge or not, they all throw themselves into the protagonist's arms when they see him. It's okay not to avenge the mere murder of my father. The men are each wiser than the other. If they can kill the protagonist, they won't. If they can do it themselves, they have to let their younger brothers give them experience and treasures. From time to time, the protagonist's defense is broken, the main thing is just to play. Don't talk about this kind of novel, really don't talk about it. If you travel through time and become the protagonist, it will be like taking on the role of Huang Mao. It is really cool. But the time travel villain's supporting character, that is, the pure love warrior, fell into the NTR world, and life was worse than death. Unfortunately, Lin Zi is one of the villains. And it made Lin Zi's memory especially deep. After all, he was also named Lin Zi in his previous life. Recalling the plot in the book, Lin Zedong felt a headache. Didn't I just scold you a few times? You actually traveled through time for me. In the original book, as the son of the Lin family, he fell in love with a woman named Sha Qinghe and was willing to do everything for her, giving her all kinds of rare resources. And guess what? Sha Qinghe fell in love with the protagonist, and secretly gave the protagonist all the resources given by Lin Zi, a licking dog, so that the protagonist could grow up crazily and stand up to resist. When Lin Zi found out, he just scolded Sha Qinghe for being immoral and asked her to change her ways, and then started a journey of giving away treasures and experiences to the protagonist. Because of this, Sha Qinghe hated Lin Zi, feeling that Lin Zi, a villain, had made her lose face in front of the protagonist. Therefore, she accepted the things from Lin Zi more carefully and continued to do her previous activities. 2 years later, boom, the Lin family is gone. Lin Zi, a big dog, was crushed to death by Sha Qinghe. Love is brain dead and the whole family is really famous. Made. One word, absolutely. As soon as this plot came out, Lin Zi immediately deleted the negative review of the book and was so angry that he yelled, "A bad author, a bad plot. I can write better with my feet than you." Then, Lin Zi traveled through time. He became the new Lindsay, and he really went into battle to write this plot himself. Well, but fortunately, I awakened in my previous life in time. Sha Qinghe and the protagonist haven't appeared yet, so I still have room to operate. The most important thing right now is the various troubles behind the identity of the Lin family's sole heir. Lin Zi began to analyze the parts about Lin Zi in the original book in detail, looking for a way to break the situation. At this time, Talent Awakening, God Level Understanding Level 1 is opened. From now on, you will have invincible understanding ability. Any skill and law can be understood to the great perfection in an instant. And all the energy required on the way to understanding and breaking through the realm will be automatically extracted from the endless world without any consumption. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Hear this strange reminder. Lin Zi's eyes suddenly widened. In addition to knowing the plot well in advance, he actually has such an incredible talent. Instantly comprehend the Kung Fu Tazochin. There is no need to worry about energy consumption. Wouldn't that mean taking off directly invincibly? In order to verify the powerful effect of the Golden Finger, Lin Zi immediately took out the core technique, Bawang War Technique, that only direct descendants of the Lin family can learn. Tianlin continent's martial arts are divided into 3 levels and 12 levels of heaven, earth, and humans, corresponding to acquired, innate, and holy realms respectively. The names of these third levels sound ordinary. Lin Zi thought so too at first. I thought this was just an ordinary martial arts world, and the value of force was not high. As a result, the acquired and innate concepts here are not the same thing as what Lin Zi understands. The acquired here refers to the acquired being, the state of being a human being. The ultimate acquired powerhouse can easily destroy a mountain range with one punch. One person can hold an army of 100,000 people, and one person can block an entire country. He can live for thousands of years. Innate means transcending the human realm and reaching an inhuman state beyond the world. Just the most ordinary innate strong man is already transcendent. He can burn the sky, boil the sea, chase the stars and chase the moon. He can destroy a country with a slap and tear it into pieces for thousands of miles. His lifespan is measured in thousands of years. As for the holy realm, they are a level of life above the innate, which is so far away from the secular world that people can no longer speculate. In short, what the acquired in the eyes of the innate is like in the eyes of the holy realm. The third level of heaven, earth and man vividly describes the gap between them. The core skill of the Lin family, the 8 Desolations War Technique, is the inheritance of a top-notch skill at the human level. It has 9 floors in total. Lin Ao only cultivated it to the 8th level and was already regarded as the god of war of Baikan, powerful in the entire Baikan dynasty. Then the 9th floor. Looking at the ancient book in his hand, Lin Zi's eyes were filled with anticipation. Reveal the tactics of the 8 Desolations. God level understanding level 1 is automatically loaded and enabled. You read, Bawang Zanfa. Under your terrifying understanding that is close to Taoism, the 8 Desolations War Techniques have been completely broken by you, reaching the state of great perfection. Bawang War Technique LV9, Great Perfection. You have mastered a top-notch human-level technique, and you have a deeper understanding of the power of God-level understanding. If you understand more, you may be able to tap into the power of God-level understanding. God-level understanding LV1, 3/10. With the God-level understanding information flow fully loaded. A stream of profound knowledge poured into Lin Zi's mind instantly like an enlightenment. The key points of knowledge at each level, the detailed use of various spiritual powers and physical bodies, and the major application methods of the 8 Desolations tactics. All of this crushed into Lin Zi's mind and was deeply engraved in Lin Zi's memory. At this moment, Lin Zi was like a great master who had personally immersed himself in the 8 Desolations War Techniques for decades and had gone through decades of hard training, knowing every key point and every detail. It has even formed a relative muscle memory. With a thought, Lin Zi can subconsciously use it without any awkwardness at all. Naturally, there is no unstable factor of mismatched mood. At the same time, because each level of the 8 Desolations tactics corresponds to an acquired realm. God level comprehension level 1 not only fully understands the 8 Desolations tactics, but also directly breaks through the key points of the laws of acquired realms. Lin Zi's cultivation realm also continued to soar as the 8 Desolations tactics were broken. Acquired triple. The 5th level of the day after tomorrow. The 9th level of the day after tomorrow. Peak the day after tomorrow. In an instant, Lin Zi had become a peak acquired superpower who had entered the Tao with the best human level skills. In the Baikan dynasty where there are no innate strong people, Lin Zi is already invincible. At this moment, a terrifying aura as powerful as a savage beast spread out from Lin Zi. The powerful pressure of life is like a flood bursting its banks. Boom! The powerful pressure of acquired Zochan is like a terrifying torrent, breaking through the prison of the world with overwhelming force. Declare your existence to this vast land. Strength. A full sense of power filled Lin Zi's body. With a slight clench of his fist, Lin Zi could feel the slightest distortion of light and shadow appearing in the air in front of him. The day after tomorrow peak. Lin Zi was ecstatic. God-level understanding is truly amazing. In just such a moment, Lin Zi ignored all the conditions and understood the 8 desolations tactics to the great perfection, transforming from the original 3rd level acquired the day before to becoming a super strong person at the peak of the day after tomorrow. If Grandpa Linao knew this, he would probably be beaten to death even if he didn't believe it. Linao was able to climb from an ordinary person to where he is now. His talent are considered to be among the best in the entire Baikan dynasty. But even so, it still took Linao more than 50 years to cultivate to the peak of the acquired world, and to practice the 8 desolate war techniques to the 8th level. But Lin Zi only spent a few seconds. This gap. God-level understanding talent is awesome. And God-level understanding is only LV1. At level 1, one can learn various techniques in an instant regardless of all conditions. So what kind of incredible effect does LV2 have? Look at the 3/10 behind God-level comprehension LV1 in the virtual interface. Lin Zi couldn't help but look forward to it. With this God-level gift of understanding, whether it's the death crisis secretly targeting the Lin family or the so-called protagonist plot, it's all bullshit. He started right away and tore up the script. Thinking about it, Lin Zi murmured. Although Tianlin Kung Fu is precious, and a single top-level human level 1 has become a secret among major families, my Lin family has a great business, and we still have a few top-level human level 1s. Let's see, even if the effect is not as good as the best human level 1s and I can't upgrade my talents, it can still increase my combat effectiveness. Traveling in the world, you can have many skills without weighing you down. The Bawang War technique is a mental technique that is impressive in terms of spiritual energy strength and attack methods, but it is relatively lacking in body techniques and body refining. Lin Zi also took this opportunity to practice body and body exercises to build himself into a hexagonal warrior with no shortcomings. Just do it. Lin Zi immediately opened the door and walked towards the Lin family library. Walking in the Lin family compound, Lin Zi was already a changed person. At the peak of acquired achievements of Lin Zi's human level, his skills are integrated into one body and can be retracted and released freely, as if he has returned to the state of his original nature. As he walked, he had the air of a master who would be the best. The whole person becomes full of strength and hope, full of the splendor of life. Especially those eyes. It has lost its immaturity and become full of energy, showing absolute confidence and depth. The charm of power lies in this. At this moment, the world is quiet. The light is soft, the flowers are fragrant, and the wind is clear. Not a few more steps. A gust of fragrant wind came. A woman with a stunning appearance, exquisite facial features, graceful figure, and a slightly pure temperament, as fresh and elegant as an orchid in the empty valley, walked towards him. This woman is tall and wears a close-fitting light blue dress that outlines her beautiful body curves. A pair of long, slender and round legs are exposed under the skirt, swaying and looking particularly eye-catching. This woman's name is Lu Hanyan. She is Lin Zi's nominal sister-in-law. The reason why it is said to be in name only is that Lu Hanyan has never met Lin Zi's brother Lin Jie. Lin Jie died in the unexpected war before she was born. The relationship between the two exists only through the words of matchmaking between their parents. With Lin Jie's death, this undecided marriage should have ended, and Lu Hanyan, who had never married, should not have appeared in the Lin family. But Lu Hanyan's situation is a bit special. She was essentially given to the Lin family by the Lu family and sold to the Lin family. Therefore, Lu Hanyan would rather stay in the Lin family as a widow as Lin Jie's unmarried wife than return to that miserable family. So, Lin Ao let her stay in the Lin family. Over the years, Lu Hanyan has been treated as his own granddaughter. But it's a pity, Lin Zi sneered in his heart. This so-called granddaughter is just grandpa's wishful thinking. He regards Lu Hanyan as his granddaughter, but Lu Hanyan does not regard Lin Ao as his grandfather. In the original book, Lu Hanyan guarded Lin Jie's widowhood and had contact with the protagonist, and their relationship was ambiguous. Even after learning that the Lin family was wiped out by the protagonist, she was still hesitant, wondering whether to kill the protagonist to avenge the Lin family, or to give up hatred and follow the protagonist. As for whether to decide whether to apply or not to apply in the end, Lin Zi didn't know. He couldn't bear it when he saw the Lin family being destroyed. The book was so poisonous that even he, a Shenong of 10 years, could break his defenses, and he still looked like a dir. However, judging from the stupidity of the author, Lu Hanyan definitely joined the protagonist's harem in the end and became another classic character who just takes revenge for killing his father, so it's okay not to avenge it. In this author's works, all the women described in writing have normal outlook on life. Therefore, Lin Zi ignored Lu Hanyan. His eyes were full of indifference, and he regarded Lu Hanyan as a stranger. Although that is a story in a book, it may not happen in the real world, and it has not happened in the future yet. But this did not prevent Lin Zi from being prejudiced against her. After all, he has become the real Lin Zi, and he has a strong sense of immersion. Quickly walking past Lu Hanyan, Lin Zi took a few unnoticeable steps aside, as if he was hiding from the plague god, fearing that he would be stuck with the aura of love, brain and intelligence. Lu Hanyan noticed this, and it's hard not to notice. In the past, Lin Zi would more or less look at her secretly and talk to her. But now, there is no simple greeting, just like a stranger passing by. The gap between before and after was so big that Lu Hanyan was surprised. She suspected that this was a new hard-to-get trick that Lin Zi had learned from some people. This was not because Lu Hanyan was narcissistic, but that she had indeed felt that Lin Zi was interested in her before. However, Lu Hanyan was his sister-in-law in name only. If there was any contact that crossed the line, it would be unpleasant to tell about it. The Lin family would let people gossip about her. Moreover, Lin Zi's gloomy personality was indeed not Lu Hanyan's type. Therefore, Lu Hanyan never had much contact with Lin Zi to avoid causing more misunderstandings. This time, there will probably be no exception. Lu Hanyan originally thought so. But she saw it. I saw the indifference in Lin Zi's eyes, as if he were looking at a stranger. Even with a hint of caution. This kind of look cannot be faked. Lu Hanyan didn't understand. What did she do wrong? So, by some strange combination of circumstances, Lu Hanyan turned around and asked Lin Zi for the first time. I heard Xiaoqui said that you fainted. Lin Zi fainted, naturally because he suddenly awakened his past life memories, and it was nothing serious. Otherwise, Lin Ao would have been unable to sit still for a long time. Hearing Lu Hanyan's initiative to ask a question, Lin Zi turned his head and answered politely. Thank you for your concern, everything will be fine. After saying that, Lin Zi left quickly. Looking at Lin Zi's back, who left without looking back, Lu Hanyan's eyes were a little complicated for a moment. Is it her imagination? Why did it feel like he fainted once, as if he had become a different person? The Lin family library. Lin Zi walked into the magnificent library with great expectations. The Lin family library has 3 floors in total. The first floor is filled with top-notch, second-rate boxing and kicking skills. These first-rate and second-rate kung fu may be very valuable to ordinary martial arts schools, but to the Lin family, they are nothing more than physical strengthening techniques for the servants and maids at home. They are placed on the first floor, and anyone in the Lin family can browse and study at will. The second floor is divided into 2 areas, where the low-level human level skills and the mid-level human level skills are placed respectively. Among them, as long as the human level inferiors are approved by the Lin family and are loyal to the master family, they can read and study them at will. This shows how wealthy the Lin family is. The mid-level human level is a little more strict. In addition to being loyal enough, you must also contribute to the Lin family and become the core strength of the Lin family to be eligible to study. The third layer is the real core secret of the Lin family, which contains several top-level human level techniques collected by the Lin family. The top human level is already the strongest level below the top human level, and it is an absolute secret among major families, so even the dignified Baiken Lin family will not open it to outsiders. On the third floor, only real members of the Lin family can enter. Lin Zi went directly to the third floor of the library. The people responsible for guarding the third floor of the library are two acquired masters of the 7th level. The 7th level of the day after tomorrow. At first glance, this realm sounds very casual and not considered a master. But in fact, acquired life is just a general summary. It includes all the realms that acquired creatures need to go through to evolve towards innate creatures. It includes the 9 realms of skin refining, meat refining, bone refining, blood refining, viscera refining, meridians refining, rejuvenation, spiritual condensation, and magic. The 7th level of the day after tomorrow is the Weiyuan realm among them. The Weiyuan realm monks have gone through the tempering of the physical body, tapped all the potential of the physical body, opened up the veins of the whole body, and the spiritual energy in the body circulates and nourishes continuously, and can activate infinite spiritual power with every breath. Every move has great power, it can easily smash a hill, and it has a lifespan of 300 years. Such strong men are the guests of every house no matter where they go. If you place it in the Baiken court, you will be able to take charge of it alone and lead an army to suppress one side. But in the Lin family, these two acquired 7th level masters were willing to condescend to be a small library guard. It was simply because they were the confidants trained and brought up by Lin Ao. They had followed Lin Ao in battles for many years and made great contributions on the battlefield. His character have already passed the test of blood and fire, and he is the Lin family, who is absolutely loyal to the Lin family and Lin Ao. He is a member of the Lin family army. The 4 words Lin Ao Baiken and God of War are not called for nothing. Lin Ao fought bravely to expand the territory of the Baiken dynasty. 70% of Baiken's army rose to prominence in the hands of Lin Ao. His prestige in Baiken's army is extremely high. It can even be said, Lin Ao's words are more effective than the imperial edict for the Baiken army. Therefore, after Lin Ao withdrew from the court and stayed away from the dispute, most of Lin Ao's cronies in the Baiken army retreated to the Lin family, changed their surname to Lin, and became the Lin family army. The 2 acquired 7th level masters in front of me are the top leaders of the Lin family army, Lin Zhang and Lin Yang. When Lin Zhang and Lin Yang saw Lin Zi, they immediately saluted respectfully and did not maintain the so-called master posture. "See you, master." Lin Zi nodded with a smile and said to the 2 of them, "Thank you for your hard work." After that, Lin Zi walked straight into the door of the 3rd floor. Outside the gate, Lin Zhang and Lin Yang were both stunned. The 2 looked at each other. Did I hear wrongly? When did the young master become so polite? What the hell? On the 3rd floor of the library pavilion, Lin Zi looked at the techniques inside one by one. There are not many techniques in it. Even for the Baiken Lin family, there are only 4 books at the top human level. There is 1 fingering method, 1 body method, and 2 comprehensive mental methods that focus on strengthening spiritual energy. Lin Zi first looked at the movement and fingering techniques. Shenfa. 6 illusions of Tianyu. Fingering. Shadowless sword finger. You read. 6 fantasy of Tianyu. Tianyu's 6 illusions has been completely broken by you, reaching the state of great perfection. Tianyu Liuhuan LV6, great perfection. You have comprehended a top-level human. God-level understanding LV1, 4/10. You read, Shadowless sword finger. Shadowless sword finger has been completely broken by you, reaching the state of great perfection. Shadowless sword finger LV9. God-level understanding LV1, 5/10. In the effort of flipping through the book, Lin Zi had completely learned the Shadowless sword finger and the 6 illusions of Tianyu, and both had reached the state of great perfection. And just like the Bawang war technique, it feels like it has been practiced for decades, and it doesn't feel awkward at all when used. At this moment, his martial arts is integrated and mastered. Shenfa, human level top grade Zochin. Fingering, human level top grade Zochin. Mind Dharma, the ultimate human level Zochin. The Zochin of the 3 major exercises. Let Lin Zi transform from a novice to a real martial arts master. At this point, looking at the entire Baiken dynasty, there is no more enemy of Lin Zi Yi. Base. The terrifying sharpness spread from Lindsay's body, making the air on the entire third floor of the library filled with a stinging coldness. The surrounding temperature dropped sharply. It was as if an ice sword ruled the world, bringing the deep cold of winter. Outside the main door of the library, Lin Zhang and Lin Yang trembled unconsciously. The hairs all over my body suddenly stood up. The two immediately looked around alertly. But no abnormality was detected. It seemed like just a cold wind blowing from nowhere. Why did the weather suddenly turn cold? Squeak. Not long after, the door to the third floor of the library opened again. Lindsay's tall and slender figure walked out. He walked in a hurry, as if something was urgent. Before the two of them could salute, Lindsay's figure disappeared in front of them like a ghost. Only a faint phantom is left that disappears like a feather. Quote. Lin Yang was stunned. When did the young master become so fast? Lin Zhang looked at the traces of Lindsay's departure and said in surprise, it's not just about speed. The movement that the young master left subconsciously just now should be Tianyu Liuhuan. As a leader among the Lin family army in cultivating Tianyu Liuhuan, how could Lin Zhang not know the movements and steps of Tianyu Liuhuan? It is precisely because of knowing that Lin Zhongkai is even more uncertain. Because the phantoms scattered like feathers require at least the fourth phantom to do it. The fourth fantasy. As a top-level human-level skill treasured by the Lin family, the mystery and profundity of Tianyu's sixth fantasy is not low. There are only a handful of people in the entire Lin family who can practice Tianyu's sixth fantasy to the fourth fantasy. All of them are experts at the acquired sixth level or above who have been immersed in Tianyu's sixth fantasy for more than 10 years. But his young master Lin Zi is only 18 years old this year. And the realm is only at the third level of the day after tomorrow. How could the 18-year-old third-level Haodian cultivate Tianyu's six illusions to such a profound level? Lin Zhang fell into deep thought. The second floor of the library. Lin Zi went straight to the display area where the human-level mid-level skills were displayed. After experiencing the sweep of the third-level human-level high-level skills, Lin Zi's natural God-level understanding has arrived 7/10, and there are still 3 points left. Lin Zi then thought about going to the second floor to clean up. Although the quality of the middle-grade exercises on the second level is not as good as the high-grade exercises, the quality is not enough and you can make up for it with quantity. The Lin family has quite a few middle-grade techniques. Even if each book only gives 0.2 progress, Lin Zi can use quantity to push up his talent level. Therefore, Lin Zi didn't even know what the technique was. As long as it was a mid-level human-level skill, he would just copy it, trying to quickly upgrade his talent to the second level and unlock the ability of the second-level talent. Open a middle-grade human-level book called Manyu Body Training. You read, Manyu Body Training. God-level understanding LV1, 7/10. The progress of God-level understanding has not increased at all. Lin Zi picked up another mid-level human-level, Fire Demon Suppression Technique. You looked through it. God-level understanding LV1, 7/10. Lin Zi was not discouraged and continued to read. You looked through it. God-level understanding LV1, 7/10. God-level understanding LV1, 8/10. After reading 4 books in a row, the progress of upgrading God-level comprehension has finally increased a little. A little progress in the 4 skills. Lin Zi took a look at the entire middle-grade Kung Fu area with joy. There are at least 40 books here. It's enough talent to be promoted to level 2. Lin Zi was immersed in the exercises again. God-level understanding LV1, 9/10. God-level understanding LV1, 10 out of 10. You have read through the books and finally gained some understanding, gaining a more essential understanding of the talent of God-level understanding. You have developed new abilities with God-level understanding. God-level understanding upgraded to LV2, 0/100. From now on, you will gain breakthrough insights when practicing any Kung Fu rules, elevate the Kung Fu deduction to a new level, and increase the Kung Fu comprehension level by +1. Next moment, a mysterious feeling suddenly appeared in Lin Zi's mind, making him wander in a fuzzy state. For a moment, Lin Zi seemed to have entered the starry sky of the universe and watched all the mysteries of the entire universe since its birth. He had an epiphany. Have you understood the 8 Desolations War technique, and have ideas about the realm above the 9th level of the 8 Desolation War techniques? You try to deduce the 10th level of the 8 Desolations tactics. You have understood the 10th level of the 8 Desolations war technique. Bawang war technique LV10. You have feelings after understanding Tianyu 6 fantasy, and have ideas about the realm above the 7th level of Tianyu 6 fantasy. You try Tianyu Liuhuan LV7. Shadowless sword points to LV10. After some enlightenment, all the techniques that Lindsay had learned had reached a new level. One layer was added to the original basic layer, and he achieved a huge improvement. Among them, the one that has made the biggest improvement is 8 Desolations war techniques. As a skill that is infinitely close to the earth level, close to the human level of the innate biological level, the level basis of the 8 Desolations war technique is here, and its one-time realm deduction improvement is far greater than other levels. The 10th level of this realm deduction actually allowed Lindsay to faintly touch the mysterious innate spiritual shackles. He has already stepped in with half a foot, for half a step of innateness. Lindsay felt that if the 8 Desolations tactics could be advanced to the 11th level, he would be able to break through the shackles of acquired nature in one fell swoop, step into the gate of innateness, and become a great innate being. As a result, Lindsay's eyes shone and he was immersed in the sea of books again. Since the God-level understanding of LV2 can break through the shackles of the skills and deduce a level of realm, will there be another level at LV3? Or is it to open up other heaven-defying functions and let him directly enter the innate world? After seeing the powerful abilities of LV1 and LV2, Lindsay is even more looking forward to the ability of LV3. You look through it. God-level understanding LV2 1/100th. God-level understanding 8/100ths. After reading through all the mid-level exercises collected by the Lin family, the progress of God-level understanding finally stopped at 8 points, but there was still a full 92 points left before being upgraded again. 92 points, which means 92 books are needed to convert it into a high-grade adult product, and a full 368 books are needed to convert it into a mid-grade adult product. Lindsay couldn't help but feel a headache. Tianlin continent's skills are precious. Even his dignified Baiken Lin family, the largest powerful family in the entire Baiken dynasty, only has 4 top-grade books and more than 40 mid-grade books. The upgrade requires such a large amount, where can he get it? Thinking about this, Lindsay turned his attention to the low-level human level area. The quality is not enough, so we have to make up for the quantity. Although the human level low-grade products are low-grade, if we continue to increase them so much, we can still increase them by 5 points, right? Lindsay thought like this and continued to soak in the low-level human level area. After scanning everything, God-level understanding LV2 13/100ths. There are more than 100 low-level human level products, but only 5 points have been added. Better than nothing. However, although the progress of God-level understanding has not increased, with so many skills added to Lindsay, the progress Lindsay has made is huge. The entire Lin family library was swept away, and all kinds of mental techniques, physical training techniques, body techniques, boxing techniques, palm techniques. Lindsay completely mastered them all and understood them all. Especially those body refining methods, their effects are the most direct. Although there is a certain amount of duplication between various body trainings, with such a huge amount of accumulation, Lindsay's physical body has already gone through all aspects of training. At this moment, Lindsay's physical body's energy and blood were extremely powerful and dazzling. Under full exertion, the energy and blood of this physical body can be described with the 4 words, Jingqi wolf smoke. Relying only on the strength of his physical body, Lindsay was able to prevent all evil from entering and break the law with his strength. Not to mention improvements in other aspects. All the skills in the Lin family library directly made Lindsay a top hexagonal warrior. Right now, he only needs to make a few moves to reach the pinnacle that Baiken dynasty cannot reach. At this point, all the crises surrounding the Lin family have been resolved. Whether he wants to eliminate some people from the Lin family or the protagonist of the plot in the future, if they dare to come, Lindsay can make them come back without any return. Only, Lindsay was worried again. Upgrading talents requires so many skills, where can he get them? Lindsay stepped out of the library and was thinking about which one he wanted to visit. At this time, a maid hurriedly came towards me. Master, phew, I finally found you. Lindsay nodded. Don't be anxious, speak slowly. Lin Zi's gentle tone surprised the maid a little. She glanced at Lin Zi in shock. Today's young master seems a little different. What exactly is different? The maid's level is not high enough, so I can't tell. But at least, the young master seems to be better looking and more confident than before. That kind of gentleness and elegance from the inside out, and the abyss of calm temperament, are really lovely to see. The maid's face turned slightly red. Master, I have something urgent to ask you. This slave looks very anxious. Grandpa is looking for me. Quite anxious. Lin Zi carefully recalled the plot in the book. If you have something important to do at this time, come to him. Could it be? Lin Zi's eyes flashed. The silly plot in the book is about to begin. Lin Zi strode into the Lin family's mansion. At a glance, he saw that extraordinary, majestic figure. Even after retiring for many years, Lin Ao's demeanor as a commander who has wielded the power of life and death for a long time has not diminished, and his whole body is full of edge. Especially those piercing eyes, as bright fire, which can make people feel terrified. His whole figure stands proudly in the sky and the earth, like an immortal war god on the battlefield. Although he is not wearing a battle robe, he is still awe-inspiring in the autumn wind. But what was more inconsistent was that Lin Ao held a string of Buddhist beads in his hand. Lin Zi knew that Lin Ao had fought in heaven and earth all his life and never believed in gods, Buddhas, or ghosts. He only believed in his ancestors. Lin Ao had always scorned the theory of cause and effect between gods and Buddhas and retribution for killing. But after all, the second generation of the Lin family passed away and Lin Jie unexpectedly died in the war. This man who was as tall as a god of war and had always wanted to be strong in his life finally gave in. Grandpa, are you looking for me? Lin Ao said nothing and just kept staring at Lin Zi. Given Lin Ao's level, he realized something was wrong as soon as Lin Zi entered the door. Why did this kid change his appearance after he fainted once? In the past, I was not very confident in anything I did. I was gloomy and always had a cowardice hidden in me. Even talking to myself is lifeless. How could he be as full of energy as he is today, with his whole body exuding a dazzling light full of confidence from the inside out? If he hadn't been keeping an eye on him, Lin Ao would have suspected that his grandson had been replaced by someone else. Is it possible that after fainting once, this kid got his wits about him? After staring at Lin Zi carefully for a while, Lin Ao said, "The autumn examination of Baikan Academy has ended. In a few days, His Majesty will hold a golden autumn banquet to personally inspect the students of the academy. You must go when the time comes." Hearing this, Lin Zi understood. It is indeed a golden autumn feast. The golden autumn banquet is the beginning of all tragedies for the Lin family. It was at this golden autumn banquet that Lin Zi met Xia Qinghe from Baikan Academy, and the story of giving treasure to a boy with no limits began. It was from this golden autumn banquet that Baikan god of war Lin Ao's health deteriorated day by day, and he gradually began to decline. Finally, he blew himself up to protect Lin Zi, and the legend came to an end. Because Lin Ao fought all his life to open up and expand Baikan's territory, he left too many injuries and injuries all over his body. When he was young, his body was strong and his energy and blood were strong enough to withstand all the hidden injuries and overwork. But now that his peak period was over and his energy and blood declined, he was defeated like a mountain, causing him to fall into the abyss of defeat in an instant. It was precisely because of this that Lin Ao was worried that Lin Zi would not be able to protect him after he left in the future, so he asked Lin Zi to go to the Golden Autumn Banquet to enter his official career, and use the prestige of the Lin family in the court to rise all the way up. In this way, even if he passes away in the future, Lin Zi will still be an official, and with the Lin family army and his remaining power in the Baikan army, he can at least save a small life and live out the rest of his life peacefully. Thinking of this, Lin Zi immediately secretly used half of his innate spiritual power to check Lin Ao's physical condition. This glance, what a shock! Lin Ao's body was covered with scars. It's all hidden damage and siltation. This kind of injury is a bit troublesome even with his half-step innate ability. Huh, what are you looking at? Lin Ao noticed the glint in Lin Zi's eyes. Lin Zi withdrew his gaze and directly gave Lin Ao a positive reply, "I will go to the Golden Autumn Banquet." Lin Zi remembered that the Baikan royal family had a top-level medical technique called 9 Extremes of Life Mysterious Needle. This method has saved many court officials and battlefield generals whose lives were hanging by a thread over the years, making this method famous and becoming a required treatment method for senior officials of the Imperial Medical Office of the Baiken dynasty. However, the healing effect of this set of exercises is equivalent to the level of cultivation. Even the imperial physician of the current dynasty could only reach the 7th level of cultivation, and the acupuncture method was only at the 8th level, so naturally it could not be used to treat Lin Ao. But Lin Zi was different. The Juji Ming Zan needle automatically reached Zochin in his hand, and he could push another needle up. By then, with his half-step innate cultivation level and the level of 10 needle skills, it would be easy to treat Lin Ao. Therefore, Lin Zi had to go to the palace and get the 9 ultimate life mysterious needle. Of course, if you can take this opportunity to visit the royal library. If one were to say which family had the richest kung fu inventory in the entire Baiken dynasty, it must be the royal family. If you can get access to the royal library, even if your talent is not upgraded to level 3, you can at least increase your progress by half, right? Lin Zi thought this way. Lin Ao was surprised. In the past, Lin Zi was always timid when it came to asking him to enter the palace, but now he agreed so simply. Just go and perform well and try to be in front of His Majesty. Quote. After a pause, Lin Ao glanced at Lin Zi with a complicated expression and said, I know that you have listened to the rumors outside and have been complaining about him. But after all, he is your biological grandfather. If you go to the palace, he will not treat you badly. The so-called gossip in Lin Ao's mouth is nothing more than his great achievements that shake the master. With Lin Ao's prestige in the Baiken army, his words were more effective than imperial edicts, so it was inevitable that there would be discordant voices throughout the dynasty. The death of the second generation of the Lin family and Lin Jie. Although no one dared to say it, everyone knew it. If you were the emperor, would you watch the Lin family become more and more powerful and become deeply entrenched in the Baiken army? As a result, the so-called rumors spread to Lin Zi's ears. It is precisely because of this that Lin Zi was so resistant to the palace in the past, and he always harbored a sense of cowardice. He was just afraid of following in the footsteps of his brother Lin Jie and his father's second uncle. My grandson understands, Lin Zi answered very simply and neatly. Lin Ao glanced at Lin Zi steadily. After a long while, he sighed, as long as you understand. Grandpa doesn't have high requirements for you. It's enough to protect yourself. The beads coiled in Lin Ao's hand moved faster. This string of Buddhist beads has been plated by Lin Ao so that it is shiny and jade-like. After that, Lin Ao waved his hand and said, Go down and get ready. The Golden Autumn Banquet has begun. Lao Mo will go with you. The Lao Mo that Lin Ao mentioned was the housekeeper of the Lin family, Lin Mo. A master of the 8th level acquired. He is the commander-in-chief of the Lin family army, the deputy commander who has followed Lin Ao in all his expeditions from the very beginning, and is definitely a member of the Lin family. Even though the Lin family encountered a catastrophe in the original book, and after Lin Ao blew himself up, he never betrayed him. Instead, he resolutely led the Lin family army to resist, shed his blood for the Lin family, and burned up the last trace of his heroic spirit. With such a Lin Jiazhen and such a Lin family, they are absolutely a master of magic and a king of bombs. But Lin Zi, the son of the Lin family in the original book, could still lose so badly. Just tell me whether I should give this bad review or not. Lin Zi bid farewell to his grandfather Lin Ao and left the main mansion. After leaving the main mansion, Lin Zi walked on the forest path in the Lin family compound. Quote. Where should I find high-quality exercises? Lin Zi's mind was now filled with the words, doing exercises. After realizing the powerful power brought by talent, Lin Zi just wants to learn from Zhao Gao and reach the top step by step. He lowered his head and pondered. Lin Zi didn't notice Lu Hanyan practicing her sword in the pavilion ahead. Lu Hanyan noticed Lin Zi. There is a big difference between Lin Zi now and before, whether it is temperament, mental outlook, or the foundation that emanates from the inside out. It was hard not to notice him. Lu Hanyan stopped dancing with the long sword in her hand. She looked at Lin Zi quietly. The midday sun casts mottled shadows through the rustling leaves in the forest. Pieces of broken sunlight shone on Lin Zi, shining brightly, illuminating his lowered head in deep thought, elongating his tall and slender figure. The young man in the sunshine is handsome and full of sunshine vitality, just like the son of the sun. That serious and focused look. The whole person is shining with dazzling light. So brilliant. Lu Hanyan didn't understand why there was such a big gap between a person after not seeing each other for a few days. Or is this Lin Zi's true face? Lu Hanyan sheathed her sword and stood up, her graceful appearance falling in the bright golden sunlight. A pair of long, slender, round legs looked so tight and plump under the light. She looked at Lin Zi quietly, as if she wanted to see through Lin Zi's mask and see the truth in his heart. Lin Zi noticed Lu Hanyan's gaze. He glanced up. It's Lu Hanyan. He frowned subconsciously, and then nodded slightly to Lu Hanyan, saying that he had seen her before. After that, he quickly left the garden and returned to his room. Quote. Lu Hanyan watched Lin Zi leave speechlessly. She was silent for a long time and continued practicing her sword. This time, her sword was particularly sharp. The sword struck the air and made a piercing whistle. Hey, why did you forget this thing? Always assuming Lin Zi's perspective as a supporting character, Lin Zi almost forgot that there was such a thing as a protagonist. Meeting Lu Hanyan, Lin Zi instantly remembered a classic plot in the original book. A classic within a classic, the protagonist picks up the advanced skills. And the origin of that advanced technique is not simple. It is the remnant of the first half of a prefecture-level middle-grade kung fu. Although it is only a fragment, it has finally reached the level of an innate god-man, possessing mysteries that cannot be matched by acquired levels. It is precisely because of this fragment that the protagonist can rise quickly. Well, it is also due to the contribution of Lin Zi, the boy who gave away treasures in the original book. Intermediate level prefecture level, even if it's just a fragment of the first half, it's still worth 5 points of progress, right? With this in mind, Lin Zi went straight out and headed to Chonghua Street. If he remembered correctly, the exercise book should be at a stall on Chonghua Street, and it had not been obtained by the protagonist at this time. Lin Zi walked out of the door, and 2 acquired 6th-level masters from the Lin family army immediately walked out of the darkness and followed Lin Zi. The 6th level of the day after tomorrow is enough to hold an important position in the Baikan dynasty and manage a city. Many of the patriarchs of medium-sized families in the Baikan imperial capital are only at this level. 2 acquired 6th-level guards were enough to ensure that Lin Zi was safe and sound in the imperial capital. What's more, in the entire imperial capital, who among the upper-level people doesn't recognize Lin Zi, the only heir to the Lin family? The 2 of them followed Lin Zi, with serious expressions on their faces and alert to their surroundings. Seeing that the autumn weather was still slightly hot, he thoughtfully gave Lin Zi a folding fan that he often used. Lin Zi was not surprised, it was like this every time he went out. Opening the folding fan, Lin Zi fanned out of habit. There was a gentle breeze. Dressed in white like snow. Her hair rippled slightly in the wind. The people in Moshang are like jade, and the young master is unparalleled in the world. Along the way, Lin Zi attracted the attention of many young girls. Walk to Chonghua Street. Lin Zi walked around the various stalls seemingly aimlessly, picking one up from time to time to look at it and ask about the price. Finally, Lin Zi stopped in front of a stall. He picked up an old tattered book and flipped through it casually. You read, The Record of the 7 Stars of the Phantom Moon. You discovered that Wanyu 7 Stars record is the fragment of the first half of a prefecture-level mid-level exercise. You try to deduce and complete it. Too many defects. It is estimated that in 30 days, the record of the 7 stars of the fantasy moon will be completed and restored to a complete prefecture-level middle-grade product. The movement of Lin Zi's hand suddenly stopped. God-level understanding actually has this function. Even the missing parts can be completed. Doesn't this mean that Lin Zi will have a mid-level earth-level technique in 30 days and officially enter the innate level? What a great harvest. So, Lin Zi immediately asked, how much is this? The stall owner saw that Lin Zi looked like a young man from an aristocratic family, so he must not be short of money. He thought carefully and boldly offered a high price. One spiritual crystal. Spiritual crystals are often circulated among monks of the 6th level and above, and are a high-grade currency. In the Baikan dynasty, the exchange rate between a spiritual crystal and a gold coin was often 1,000. One spiritual crystal is equivalent to 1,000 gold coins. 1,000 gold coins is indeed a high price to put in this pile of seemingly impressive rags. But that's how buying and selling is, you make an offer and I make a counter-offer. The stall owner did not expect the price of one spiritual crystal to be sold. I, the lion, have a big mouth. If you cut off the aorta, I can accept it even if it costs 10 gold coins. However, the stall owner is thinking freely. The crisp answer made him dumbfounded. Make a deal. Give me money. After saying that, Lin Zi took away the torn book that recorded the record of the 7 stars of the fantasy moon. One spiritual crystal only costs a few dollars, and Lin Zi spends more than 10 spiritual crystals every day. Quote. The stall owner twitched his lips speechlessly. That's sloppy. This young master is probably from the top noble family in the imperial capital, and he has a lot of spiritual crystals to eat like a meal. If I had known earlier, I would have offered 100 spirit crystals. What a loss, what a big loss. The stall owner was secretly annoyed. Suddenly, a girl in pink clothes hurriedly appeared in front of the stall owner. She glanced at the stall and discovered at a glance that the shabby ancient book she had photographed before was missing. She quickly asked, "This stall owner, where is the tattered book you put here?" The stall owner shrugged, "You're a little late. A gentleman just bought it for 1 spirit crystal." What? The girl in pink clothes was stunned for a moment, then quickly asked, "Where did he go?" "No, over there." The stall owner pointed in a direction. The girl in pink immediately chased after him. So many people want. Seeing this, the stall owner rubbed his head and said, "Maid, did you misjudge that thing is a good thing?" On the other side, Lin Zi had already returned home after getting his things. The girl in pink chased him all the way but didn't see a rich man with a broken book. She couldn't help but stop and stamped her feet with regret on her face. Obviously I came first. If I had known better, I would have brought more money with me. That shabby book is definitely a masterpiece at the human level or even an earth level masterpiece. If I could buy it back. The pretty face of the girl in pink was full of disappointment and frustration. She mumbled back to Baiken Academy. Time flies. Not long after, the Golden Autumn Banquet was held. Lin Mo, the old housekeeper of the Lin Mansion, acted as the carriage driver and took Lin Zi into the palace. When the palace guards saw Lin Mo in front of the carriage, they paid high attention to him. Not just because he represents Baiken God of War. As the deputy commander of Baiken God of War Linao and an acquired 8th level strongman, Lin Mo also has a very high prestige in the Baiken army. Although Linao and Lin Mo have both retired for many years, the old people in the Baiken army still remember the era full of blood and fire. Remember these 2 spiritual leaders of Baiken army. General Lin. As the carriage drove in, the Imperial City Guard commander subconsciously blurted out General Lin, but he quickly reacted. "Steward Lin, Your Majesty knew that the young master was coming, so he ordered us to wait specially early in the morning and take you 2 to Fenghua Palace for a chat. Your Majesty has not seen the young master for a long time, and he misses him very much." Lin Mo responded calmly, "Thank you. Don't dare." The guard commander did not even dare, and then quickly led the carriage to Fenghua Palace. Lin Mo opened the car curtain and asked Lin Zi to get out of the car. "Master, we're here." Inside the Fenghua Palace. Wearing a dragon robe, the majestic Emperor Baiken is sitting on the dragon chair. He is full of dragon energy and is not angry but is proud of himself. "Your Majesty, Lin Zi of the Lin family is here." "Zan, Your Majesty has a decree. Zan Lin's family, Lin Zi, has an audience." The gate of Fenghua Palace opens. Lin Zi walked into the main hall, and Lin Mo was waiting outside the hall as a housekeeper and retainer. "Your Majesty, Lin's." Emperor Baiken straightened his body slightly and said, "Stay straight." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Emperor Baiken lowered his hand and said, "Hey, it would be too unreasonable to call you Your Majesty. As a family, we don't follow these customs." Emperor Baiken looked at Lin Zi with a smile on his face. "Speaking of which, Zaire, you haven't been to the palace for several years, right? I haven't seen you for a few years, and you have grown up and changed. But I still recognized you at a glance, because you are so similar to me when I was young. You are almost carved from the same mold. There must be many girls who are secretly interested in you, right?" Emperor Baiken stood up and walked off the dragon chair. "Tell me if there is a girl you like." Grandpa has made the decision for you to handle this major life event. Lindsay smiled and responded smoothly, Grandpa was joking. My grandson is still young. He is young and frivolous. Hearing this, Emperor Baiken burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. You are so young and frivolous, you are such a brat. Ha ha ha. That's all, let's let the romance go. If you fall in love with a girl later and you're embarrassed to mention it, just tell Grandpa. Thank you, Grandpa. Emperor Baiken walked up to Lindsay and took Lindsay's hand. You kid, why are you being polite to your grandpa? After saying that, Emperor Baiken took Lindsay to the royal garden, looking cordial and kind. Come on, we haven't seen each other for so long. Let's have a drink and let Grandpa take a good look. Turning around, Emperor Baiken ordered the eunuchs and maids to prepare a banquet. The palace maids and eunuchs were dumbfounded. When had they ever seen the majestic Baiken Emperor, the wise and mighty founder of the Baiken dynasty, look so kind? He even held hands and asked for 2 drinks. Even the princes and princesses don't get this treatment, right? What's more, it's a grandson who already has a foreign surname. The palace maids and eunuchs were dumbfounded, and it wasn't until Emperor Baiken's announcement of preparing a banquet that they came out of their daze. According to the order. Afterwards, Emperor Baiken brought Lindsay to the imperial garden and held a private banquet. Lindsay said, Grandpa, you will have a golden autumn banquet soon. Emperor Baiken waved his hand. Hey, I can't delay having a few drinks. What's more, the golden autumn banquet. Tsk. It's okay not to say anything. Come on, let's not mention those trivial things. We haven't seen each other for such a long time. Let's have a great time drinking today. Raise glasses and drink swigs, mingling with each other. Lindsay chatted with Emperor Baiken. Chatting about that and talking about common things. Just like a normal family conversation. While chatting, Emperor Baiken talked about the battle that killed 2 outstanding figures of the Lin family. Your father and second uncle are our best young generals in Baiken. They could have become another spiritual leader in Baiken's military community. Pity. Emperor Baiken sighed, that Langdu kingdom actually launched an army attack at night. Oh, I hate that Baiken's intelligence scouts at that time were not perfect. Otherwise, how could the Wolf Capital Kingdom succeed? Emperor Baiken seemed to be explaining something to Lindsay. Lindsay listened quietly. Was the death of the second generation of the Lin family deliberately man-made or simply a battlefield battle? The Lin family in the original book was just a supporting role, without much explanation, and they were destroyed before the answer was revealed in the later stage. So Lindsay didn't know. However, it is no longer important to know clearly. The important thing is that Lindsay already has the strength to fear nothing. The wind brings the seeds of stories. Time to germinate. He just wants to wait and see the situation, and eventually sweet fruits will come to him with all the answers. Emperor Baiken said. Lindsay listened quietly. For a long time. It's getting late. The palace was lit with lights that illuminated the night. Your Majesty, the students from various universities who have passed the autumn examination of Baiken University have arrived at the banquet. An old eunuch who was preparing for the Golden Autumn banquet came to Emperor Baiken and spoke softly. Oh, it's so late. Emperor Baiken stood up and said, in that case, Zair, come with me to the banquet. You should also take a good look at what these students have available. When you work in the government in the future, these people will be your good help. The implication of Emperor Baiken's words was that he was already planning to arrange an official position for Lindsay. Having said that, Emperor Baiken faced a dark place again. His expression turned cold. Are you all ready? In the darkness, groups of heavily armed guards were ready to attack. He looked murderous. It seems that tonight's Golden Autumn banquet is not peaceful. Grandpa, what is this? Emperor Baiken said, this is the disappointing thing that I didn't want to talk about just now. In recent years, the Langdu kingdom has become extremely ambitious. It has inserted many traitors into our Baiken dynasty, and even used high-ranking officials and generous salaries to instigate some citizens to rebel. At this Golden Autumn banquet tonight, I have just as many traitors as I can find on my hands. What can't be detected, it's hard to guard against. Wolf Capital Kingdom, sooner or later I will level his Wolf Capital. Say it. Emperor Baiken gave the guards a look. All the guards hid in the darkness and disappeared. Let's go, Zair, Come with me to see how much this top academic institution that supplies talents to our Baiken dynasty has been corrupted. Lin Zi followed Emperor Baiken noncommittally. For a profession like the Emperor, just listen to half of what he says. The Langdu kingdom sent a traitor to Baiken. Has Baiken never done such a thing? With Baiken's national power, there will only be more rats in the wolf capital kingdom. The Golden Autumn Banquet is held in Wenyuanchi. In Wenyuan Pond, the lights are brightly lit. A seat table is scattered in the wide Wenyuan Pond, and a sumptuous dinner is placed to reward the students who pass the autumn examination. Baiken students sat on the floor one by one, chatting with the students around them, waiting for the arrival of the master of the banquet, Emperor Baiken. Brother Ma, is that the sixth prince? Good. Oh, I heard that the sixth prince is kind-hearted and makes good use of talents. He is the easiest to get along with among the 13 princes. Now that I have met him, I think the rumors are true. Oh, Brother Zhang Xian intends to join the sixth prince's service. Haha, good birds choose trees to roost in. Among these 13 princes, only the eldest prince, the second prince, and the sixth prince are the most outstanding. Among the 3 princes, the sixth prince is the most benevolent, and he only promotes talents. The stupid younger brother is not talented, so he wants to give it a try with the sixth prince. Quote, in this case, I wish Brother Zhang Xian that he will get what he wants and that he will be able to achieve great things. He will be prosperous by then, but don't forget Brother Yu. What Brother Ma said, you are number 11 in the autumn examination of our school. Zhang has to rely on Brother Ma. It's true, it's true. Brother Ma is going to achieve great success, but don't forget his classmates. A group of students praised each other. At this time, someone suddenly asked, hey, I see that all the princes have already entered the banquet. Why is there still an empty seat next to your majesty? Everyone looked around and saw that there was still a vacant seat from the Baiken Emperor's dragon chair. All the students couldn't help but be shocked. You must know that the seats at the Wenyuanchi Golden Autumn Banquet have always been particular. They are lined up in order, mainly the Emperor's dragon chair. The princes and relatives were inside, the invited dignitaries were inside, and the students from the autumn examination were outside. The closer the position is to the emperor, the higher the status of the person. But now that all 13 princes have arrived and taken their seats, there is still an empty seat next to the emperor, which can't help but surprise everyone. Is there anyone with a higher status than the princes? That position, I heard from the gossip that it belongs to young Master Lin. Young master of the Lin family. Is he the young master from Baiken's God of War family? It turns out it's him, so it's not surprising. I just came from outside the imperial capital to participate in the autumn examination. I don't quite understand the rules of the imperial capital. After all, this young master of the Lin family is just a minister. Can his status be higher than that of the princes? You don't understand. Young Master Lin has a special status. He is not only His Majesty's grandson, but also the sole heir to Baiken God of War. Baiken War God, you know, right? 70% of our Baiken army are elites led by this man himself, and half of the high-level generals serving in major secrets are his students. To put it bluntly, if Baiken War God said something on the battlefield, it would be more effective than an imperial edict. So there are rumors outside that it is our majesty. Shish, you don't want your life. Quote. Ahem, in short, the identity of this young master of the Lin family is not simple. No one in the entire empire dares to offend him, and the 13 princes also wish they could be friends with him in order to gain the support of the Lin family. So no one dares to say anything when he sits in that position, not to mention that the arrangement of the Wenyuan Pond position was approved by His Majesty from the beginning. I see, what about the Lin family master himself? He himself. Speaking of Lin Zi himself, everyone hesitated for a long time. Hard to say. Well, I can only say it's ordinary. The only heir to Baiken God of War is just ordinary. Who says it's not, but that's the fact. This young master of the Lin family is always gloomy. He does not have the confidence and self-confidence of a member of a big family, nor does he have the pampering and domineering attitude. If I have to say it, he has no characteristics, no edge, and the whole person is ordinary. In terms of talent, he inherited the bloodline of Baiken God of War and His Majesty. His talent is not bad. It is said that he is already at the acquired third level, but it cannot be said to be particularly extraordinary. Anyway, it just gives people the feeling that it's usable, but not very useful. That's it, it's a pity. What a pity, I can't see it. Oh, why did you say that? Oh, don't you think that only people like Mr. Lin can make people feel at ease? Otherwise, why did this mediocre one survive when all the other talented people in the Lin family died? Shish, don't talk nonsense. Be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. All the students kept their voices to a minimum, fearing that these rebellious remarks would be heard. At the front of the group of students, a lovely-looking girl in a white dress listened to everyone's words. There was a trace of pity and sigh on her beautiful face. Unfortunately, there is no successor to the legend of God of War. It's a pity that the Lin family has worked so hard but ended up like this. At this moment, she couldn't help but carefully consider whether she wanted to enter the criss-crossing officialdom of the imperial court. It's not too late for her to quit now. Your Majesty has arrived. A sharp, Your Majesty, sounded in Wenyuanchi. Everyone immediately stopped what they were doing, stood up one after another, and watched the noble emperor enter the Golden Autumn banquet. Looking out, a noble figure, containing a strong imperial power and divine power, and a heroic figure walked slowly from the dragon path of Wenyuan Pond. Next to him, there was also a handsome man in white with a calm and generous temperament. The two of them walked into Wenyuan Pond and sat down. My son, I see Your Majesty. No need to be polite, just get up. Tonight is the annual Golden Autumn banquet. There will be no monarchs and ministers at the banquet, so it will be more casual. As he spoke, Emperor Baikon's eyes fell on the students. His eyes were deep, as if he was already examining and assessing the students' abilities. Feeling Emperor Baikon's gaze, everyone quickly straightened their backs, held their heads high, and tried to show their best style in front of Emperor Baikon. Emperor Baikon looked at the students, and Lindsay also looked at the girl in the white dress in front of the students. As the most beautiful woman at the entire Golden Autumn banquet, and also one of the top 10 students, it is no surprise that the girl in the white dress is Sha Qinghe. I have to say that Sha Qinghe's appearance is indeed good. She has a cool temperament, with a unique sense of unyielding self-improvement, and her appearance is beautiful without being seductive. Her whole person is like a proud snowy plum, fresh and elegant, blooming in the cold wind. Unfortunately, my eyesight is not very good. In terms of identity, Lin Zi is the sole heir of the Lin family, and the future Duke Ding is destined to dominate the government. In terms of wealth, the Lin family has 2 spiritual veins, 8 gold mines, and gifts from major officials in the court and Lin Ao's disciples over the years. This huge wealth is enough to be passed down to the Lin family for dozens of generations. In terms of talent, Lin Zi has gathered the talents of Emperor Baikon and God of War Baikon. He is the 3rd level acquired at a young age and is about to enter the 4th level acquired. This talent is definitely not bad, at least it is definitely better than the protagonist at this stage. In terms of appearance, Lin Zi's mother is a famous beauty princess in the royal family, and his father is also a handsome man. Lin Zi's appearance cannot be bad, and he is the first of the 4 young masters in the imperial capital. Talking about the first sight of Zhang Yan, the meeting between Lin Zi and Sha Qinghe also happened before meeting the protagonist. Even if you can still choose the protagonist, where does Lin Zi lose in the original book? Maybe it was because he didn't have the halo of the protagonist that Sha Qinghe was forcibly blinded, right? Or is it that those who are favored always feel confident? Tisk. After taking a look, Lin Zi looked away. As everyone knows, Sha Qinghe has been looking at Lin Zi from the corner of his eye. As the son of the Lin family with a special status, Lin Zi was destined to be the center of everyone's attention. When Sha Qinghe saw Lin Zi for the first time, he had only one thought in his mind. Is this really Lin Zi, the son of the Lin family? What about the promised Lin family master who is gloomy and mediocre? What's going on with this handsome man in front of me, who exudes aristocratic temperament and profound connotation from the inside out, like a wisp of Tianshan breeze? Moreover, when he sat with the emperor, he could still talk and laugh freely, without any restraint when facing the supreme power. Are you telling me that this kind of person is mediocre and useless? Sha Qinghe only felt that the rumors were wrong. While thinking like this, Sha Qinghe noticed Lin Zi's eyes falling on her. Xia Qinghe was not surprised. As a famous beauty from Baikan University, she was used to this kind of gaze. But what surprised Xia Qinghe and even made him angry? Just look at it, what does that pitiful look like looking at a retard mean? Did I provoke you? At this time, Emperor Baikan's voice came again. Okay, I won't say much, I think everyone is impatient. The rest of the time can be spent reciting poems or expressing political opinions. Tonight is yours. Be sure to have fun. Have a banquet. As Emperor Baikan opened the banquet, everyone present raised their wine glasses on the table. The first cup, let's start the banquet and pay tribute to the king. Thank you, Your Majesty. Everyone drank the wine in one gulp. Emperor Baikan also raised his wine glass in response. After that, the Wenyuanchi Golden Autumn Banquet officially began. Groups of beauties entered Wenyuan Pond, serving behind each table, pouring wine and food for them, and bringing new wine and food. The students also gathered together one after another, drinking wine and throwing pots, or singing poetry. The princes also walked to the high platform of Wenyuanchi and began to get to know every Baikan student up close, listen to their high-pitched speeches, and look for their future capable officers. Suddenly, the Golden Autumn Banquet began to have a hearty and lively atmosphere. On the high platform, Emperor Baikan had been looking at everyone happily, drinking a few drinks and chatting with Lindsay from time to time, and seemed to have forgotten about the traitor in Langdu. In the center of Wenyuan Pond, the eldest prince, who had just passed by a dancing girl, noticed something unusual. He looked back at the palace maid who took off her drinking utensils and left. Stop. The palace maid paused, then slowly turned around, holding the wine set and lowering her head. Your Highness. The eldest prince came over and asked, where did you get this wine glass from? While speaking, the eldest prince had already picked up the wine glass and started shaking it from side to side. Seeing this, the maid trembled and said, go back, Your Highness, I don't know. I am only responsible for changing the drinking utensils. I also took them from others. Yeah, the eldest prince sneered and took out a small silver needle from the gap in the wine glass. The silver needle shimmered with cold light, and a bit of green shone on the tip of the silver needle. I will give you another chance and ask, where did this poisonous needle come from? The maid was so frightened that she fell to her knees. Your Highness, this slave really doesn't know. The reaction of the maid and the eldest prince quickly alarmed the others. Someone's expression changed. Some people are panicking. Someone is wary of the surroundings. Someone is hiding murderous intent. Who? Bold thief. How dare you cause trouble at my Baikan Golden Autumn Banquet? At this time, the second prince also noticed something strange about the maid behind him, and swung out his palm. Bang! The dagger in the maid's robe slipped to the ground and made a crisp sound. Seeing this, everyone present immediately became alert. Be bold. Come here. Get all the maids and dancers for this prince. The traitor and traitor lurking in the dark can no longer hold back. Kill each and every dancing girl Meiji, as well as the traitor hidden among Baikan students, gave up their disguises, exposed their true identities, drew their hidden weapons and violently emerged. The princes and students quickly fought back. Those traitors and traitors, die to me. Protect Your Majesty. Quote. For a moment, there was a flash of swords and chaos. The entire Golden Autumn Banquet suddenly became a mess. Wonderful. 10 or even 12 points of excitement. On the high platform, Lindsay watched the farce performance quietly with strange eyes. Emperor Baikan, who was not far from Lindsay, had a calm expression on his face. His pair of dragon eyes seemed to be commanding the whole audience, and he seemed to be wandering in the sky, unable to tell the depth. The maid serving behind Lindsay began to slowly approach Lindsay. Lindsay's mouth curled up slightly. Oh, how wonderful. The bold assassin and dares to cause trouble. Get them all for me. At this moment, teams of well-qualified guards appeared from the darkness and rushed into Wenyuan Pond. They attracted everyone's attention with their powerful gesture and suppressed the assassin riot. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that this farce would end without incident. However, a cold female voice filled with murderous intent suddenly spread throughout Wenyuan Pond. Stop it all, or I'll kill him. As soon as the words came out, everything fell silent. Everyone looked towards the source of the sound. This look could kill me. I saw the maid who was serving behind Lindsay pressing the sharp knife against Lindsay's neck with a murderous look on her face. Everyone's expressions changed and they became nervous. In this hall, anyone can die, even a few princes can die, but nothing happens to Lindsay, the young master of the Lin family. He is the last heir of the Lin family. Once he dies, Lin Ao will lose his last shackles and become completely crazy. When the time comes, Baiken will be restless. Countless people and families will be buried with Lin Zi. Be bold, you wanton thief, please let go of Mr. Lin. Put down your weapons. If young Master Lin is even injured, your 9 tribes will be wiped out. Quote. Everyone present stopped moving and looked at Lindsay, who was being held hostage by the maid. The maid smiled coldly. Let go. If you really let go, will I still be alive? As she spoke, the maid pressed the sharp blade deeper, and the sharp sword had already touched Lindsay's skin. If you don't want anything to happen to Mr. Lin, you'd better be honest. Especially you, Dog Emperor. I know that your cultivation is profound and you can easily take my life without hurting Lindsay. But my knife is on Lindsay's neck. As long as you dare to take action, I dare to exchange one life for another. I don't care, I only have one life, but Mr. Lin. Emperor Baiken looked at the maid with deep eyes. Let go of Zer. I can forgive. The maid scolded. Stop playing tricks. Back off. And you all, retreat. Everyone was highly concentrated, like a frightened bird, fearing that the maid would ruin the future of the entire Baiken dynasty with one strike. But in such a tense moment, as the person involved, Lindsay picked up the wine glass and took a sip in an unusually calm manner. It was as if the person who was experiencing a sudden change in life and death was not himself, but someone else. The clouds are light and the wind is light, and it is calm and composed, forming a landscape of its own. In stark contrast to the others on Wenyuanchi, everyone was stunned. Seeing this, the maid smiled and said, it seems that Mr. Lin is not as ordinary as the outside world said. At least his calmness in the face of trouble is impressive. Lindsay put down his wine glass and finally spoke. You can still catch me if you don't go down. I don't even know whether I should call you lucky or unlucky. The plot of Lindsay being held hostage also happened in the original book. But it was because he went to strike up a conversation with Sha Qinghe that the assassin seized the opportunity. But now that he didn't go down, he was still held hostage. Still being held hostage by the Emperor's side. Tisk, Lindsay still made the same comment. Wonderful. While speaking, the maid keenly noticed that there was an imperceptible glimmer of light on Lindsay in front of her. Then, Lindsay and his whole body became a little unreal. The maid's expression changed, and her intuition made her feel strongly uneasy. She quickly clenched the sharp blade in her hand, as if this was the only way to give herself confidence. What do you mean? It means. The maid's pupils suddenly shrank. Because Lindsay's voice suddenly appeared behind her. And Lindsay in front of him. Pieces of illusory feathers fell on him, and eventually they turned into nothing and disappeared. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. This seems to be the Lin family's Tianyu 6 fantasy. The body is like a feather, and the shadow is like an illusion. This is at least the 4th illusion state. The 4th illusion. Doesn't that mean? That's right, in order to master the 4th illusion, Mr. Lin's realm must reach at least the acquired 6th level. Doesn't it mean that Mr. Lin only has the acquired 3rd level? This acquired 6th level, Everyone looked at Lindsay in shock, dumbfounded. Emperor Baiken seemed to know his grandson for the first time, and his eyes were full of surprise and inexplicable light. Just when everyone was shocked, something even more shocking happened. Lindsay, who appeared behind the maid, stretched out his hand. The maid subconsciously sensed the danger and quickly escaped. However, be careful in the next life. Whoosh! A powerful suction force instantly emerged from the palm of Lindsay's hand. Boom! Wind rises from the plains. The palm of Lindsay's hand seemed to turn into a huge eye of the wind, pulling everything in the world into the eye of the wind, and being torn apart by the ruthless storm. A fierce hurricane blew in Wenyuan Pond instantly. Just like the waves, one wave after another, one wave covers the other. A series of storm ripples turned the entire Wenyuan Pond into a mess. And in this storm, Lindsay was like a demon in charge of the storm, riding the storm. Its tyrannical pressure, like a god and a demon, rages in Wenyuan Pond along with the storm. A huge boulder immediately weighed on everyone's hearts, making their hearts heavy and making it difficult to breathe. I just feel as if I am powerless in the face of a doomsday disaster. And the maid who faced the storm had already flown towards the eye of the storm uncontrollably, constantly twisting and shrinking in the storm. Until, snap, Lin Zi tightened his grip. A large pool of blood flowed from his hands. Opening his hand again, tiny particles of powder fell from the air and scattered into the pool of blood. Then his eyes flashed again, and invisible sword energy popped out one after another. Base. The sword energy divides all things, 1 into 2, 2 into 4, and the 4 transform into thousands. Countless sword energy roared in Wenyuan Pond, hitting all the villains in Wenyuan Pond at various tricky angles and with strange traces, piercing their hearts or heads, and coming out through their bodies. Ah, I don't. Spare my life. Quote. Sword energy flew and heads rolled. The rebels were killed one by the invisible sword energy. The whole scene can be described as harvest. In less than a moment, of all the rebellious thieves in Wenyuan Pond, only a few who had been subdued by the guards were left alive. The rest of them were all executed. Corpses lay in a pool of blood. The eyes are red, scarlet, crimson. The pungent smell of blood filled the entire Wenyuan Pond. There was silence in the entire Wenyuan Pond. Silence fell. At this moment, everyone was silent. They just looked at Lin Zi in shock. My mind is already blank. Quiet, so quiet. The wind in the pond has stopped and the trees in the forest have stopped. Even the air around him seemed to have stopped flowing. The entire Wenyuan Pond seemed to be dead, falling into the 9 nether abyss, and there was total silence. Only the quiet sound of the clear spring outside the pool and the gurgling water still show that the vitality of this place has not been extinguished. I do not know how long it has been. Quote. Hiss. A series of frightened hisses broke the dull silence. Everyone looked at Lin Zi in horror. Did they read it right just now? Lin Zi crushed that assassin maid into a ball. This kind of method seems to be the highest level of the old war god Bawang's tactics, Yu Bawang. No, it seems to be even smarter than the simple Yu Bawang. Hiss. Yu Bawang is the 8th level of Bawang's tactics, and is more advanced than Yu Bawang. Isn't that the 9th level of the 8 Desolations war technique, great perfection? Peak the day after tomorrow. Realize this. Everyone's hearts trembled. They opened their mouths to say something. But all of a sudden, there are so many words in my mind, they are so complicated, and I don't know where to start. Thousands of thoughts finally turned into horrified exclamations and hisses. Everyone looked at the tall figure who was wiping his hands with a calm expression, as if he had just done a trivial thing and was lost in thought for a long time. How dazzling and brilliant is the figure in front of me. How disdainful. Is this still the mediocre Lin Zi they knew as the acquired 3rd level? Is this still the timid Lin Zi who is afraid of the palace? Is this still the same Lin Zi who cannot be reused and who has left the Lin family with no successors? Quote. Everyone looks at me and I look at you. Their hearts have been shaken up and down, their minds are groggy, and they are speechless. At this time, after wiping his hands, Lin Zi slowly turned around and saluted Emperor Baiken and said. Lin Zi didn't notice and took action too late, which frightened Grandpa. Lin Zi's tone was calm, and he still looked like the young master who was chatting and laughing. It can be seen that after seeing Lin Zi's true face, no one can treat him as an ordinary young man from a wealthy family. Although Emperor Baiken had no expression on his face, he did not say a word in the face of this surprising change. But the fleeting inexplicable color in his eyes also revealed the turmoil in his heart. He looked at Lin Zi intently for a long time, but could no longer find any trace of his former cowardly grandson. So, Lin Zi smiled and Emperor Baiken remained silent. A strange and depressing atmosphere instantly spread in Wenyuan Pond. Upon noticing the arrival of this oppressive aura, everyone present's expressions changed drastically and their whole bodies trembled. Anyone who can be invited to Wenyuanchi today is not a fool. Lin Zi's earth-shaking changes made them immediately recall a terrifying fact. That is, Lin Zi has never been a mediocre person, nor is he timid, he is a genius. No, the acquired peak at 18 years old. This is a peerless talent. The innate seeds for the future to be extraordinary and holy. This peerless genius has always known what he was doing, and also understood the situation between himself and the Lin family. Cowardice, weakness, and mediocrity are all just an illusion he put on to show to outsiders. All of them, including the old god of war Lin Ao, were probably deceived by Lin Zi. And why does he, who is so talented, have to pretend and lie to others? The answer is self-evident. Everyone secretly glanced at the silent Emperor Baiken. At this moment, the supreme founding king of Baiken had no expression on his face, with an inexplicable color flashing in his eyes. No one knows what he is thinking. God's will is unpredictable. Never guess the king's thoughts, you can't guess it. A low and depressing atmosphere slowly spread. Everyone shrank their heads. They had a hunch that Baiken would never be peaceful in the future. However, just when everyone had a premonition of big changes, Emperor Baiken burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, okay, you gave me a big surprise. Emperor Baiken's tone was full of gratitude. I have long said that my Li family and Lin family share the same blood, so how can I be a mediocre person? Okay, okay, okay. Emperor Baiken said 3 good words in an excited tone. Zer, if your daughter and son-in-law know that you have achieved such an achievement today, they will also be happy. Lin Zi apologized, and said, I hope Grandpa won't be blamed for not informing Grandpa in advance. Hey, how could I blame you? Emperor Baiken sighed as he spoke. The Lin family is the sacred pillar of our Baiken dynasty. Many ambitious thieves who want to disintegrate our Baiken will target your Lin family. The descendants of the Lin family will suffer such a disaster. Oh, it's all because of my incompetence, Baiken Chao, I can't help you. I understand your situation, Zer. It's a good thing for you to be more careful. Grandpa just understands. Emperor Baiken nodded with a smile and was about to speak again. Suddenly, a thief who was subdued by the guards suddenly said, Bah! The dog Emperor, hypocritical. The word hypocrisy has not escaped my lips. Emperor Baiken's eyes suddenly turned cold. He turned his head, his cold eyes piercing his bones like extremely cold ice. Snapped. The guard quickly slapped the thief in the face, knocking out his teeth. Be bold. How dare you insult the Holy One? Snapped. Another slap hit him on the other side, beating his entire face to a bloody pulp and leaving him unconscious. The guard planned to continue fanning him. Emperor Baiken's majestic voice came with cold dragon power. Drag them all down and keep them under strict supervision. According to the order, several guards immediately escorted the remaining survivors to the prison. The remaining guards dragged the assassin's body away from Wenyuan Pond. After the guards retreated, Emperor Baiken's cold eyes scanned everyone in the audience again. Such a thing can happen in Wenyuan Pond tonight. Imperial City Guards, Mirror Division, Inner Palace, what do you do for food? With so many assassins and traitors sneaking in, are you all blind or deaf? Emperor Baiken's cold and bone-chilling voice fell. The people who were called to the institution were all frightened and fell to their knees on the ground. Your Majesty, we don't know anything about it. Your Majesty, please have mercy. Have mercy. Quote. Emperor Baiken was so angry that he threw his wine glass. It made a crisp sound that touched everyone's heartstrings. Boom. Not aware, so many assassins and traitors have sneaked into the Golden Autumn Banquet. I, Baiken, have almost become a civ, and you actually say you don't know anything about it. Could it be that I, Baiken, have always been a loser? Emperor Baiken slammed the table and broke the thick golden iron dragon case into 2 halves. Your Majesty, forgive me. Forgive me. I will definitely investigate and investigate thoroughly to the end. Quote. Snort. Listen, I don't care whether you know it or not. I only give you 1 day. If we can't find out everything within 1 day, you all should come to me and see me. According to the order, the people from the tripartite agencies were so frightened that they wiped the cold sweat off their heads. After that, the 3 parties looked at me and I looked at you, and they had already decided to get to the bottom of each other's affairs and throw the blame away. After talking about the tripartite organizations of the imperial court, Emperor Baiken's eyes fell on the students of Baiken Academy. All the students were immediately frightened, fearing that they would be implicated. They just saw it. Many of those thieves came from those who were successful in the autumn exam. If they were really investigated, not even one of them from Baiken Academy would be able to get away with it. Baiken Academy. Just as he was on tenterhooks, Emperor Baiken spoke. The most dignified university in Baiken, the talent transfer center of Baiken, is actually harboring filth and evil. It really makes me sad. Master Lu. Master Lu was excited. Here he is. Tired. I don't want to say more. In recognition of your hard work and meritorious service at Baiken Academy over the years and the contribution of many talents to our Baiken dynasty, I will give you a chance. Inspect Baiken Academy thoroughly. Clean up everything inside and out for me. What happened today will never happen again. Master Lu breathed a sigh of relief. I obey the order. I will thoroughly investigate the entire school when I return, and I will never let down the holy grace. Emperor Baiken hummed. Finally, he set his sights on Lindsay, who was shining brightly. Zer, you have done a good job in killing the traitor today. I will always reward those who have meritorious service. Tell me, what do you want? Whether it's a high-ranking official or a rich salary, or you want to marry that princess, I can satisfy you. Hearing this, Lindsay's heart moved. Give me a pillow when you feel sleepy. He was worried about how to open his mouth to visit the royal library. Rebellious ministers and traitors will be punished by everyone. Lindsay just did something within his duty and is not worthy of the high official's salary. If Grandpa really wants a reward, why not? Just let me enter the royal library for half a day. Emperor Baiken raised his eyebrows. Lindsay made this request, which actually didn't surprise him. Judging from Lindsay's actions just now, Emperor Baiken at least saw the shadow of the 5 skills in it. The 8 desolate war techniques, the 6 illusions of heavenly feathers, the shadowless sword finger, the Wanxiang capturing dragon technique, and the true chi of the wind. And every door has reached an extremely advanced level. Lindsay was able to practice these 5 martial arts to such an extent and master them at such a young age. In addition to being a peerless talent, he must also be a martial arts fanatic who is obsessed with martial arts. The reason why he raised his eyebrows. It's not that Lindsay's request is too difficult or harsh, but that it's too simple. Half a day in the royal library. In half a day, even if you have the unparalleled talent to forcefully memorize the contents of the exercises, how many exercises can you remember? The specific meridians and acupuncture routes of high-level exercises vary by 1,000 miles. Once something goes wrong, the meridians may be confused, or the meridians may go crazy. In half a day, even if I hold my head against the sky, I can only completely memorize a middle-grade technique. So, Emperor Baiken shook his head. If I agree to this request, it will appear that I, the royal family, are too stingy. However, Emperor Baiken never imagined that there would be such unreasonable cheats as God-level understanding in this world. Half a day. Lindsay has been talking too much for half the day. In just half an hour, your entire royal library will be swept away by Lindsay. Emperor Baiken turned around and said, Zer is very talented and loves martial arts. As my grandfather, I am naturally willing to fulfill my wish. Grandpa also hopes that one of the descendants of my Li family will produce an innate god who is extraordinary and holy. But half a day is too short. You should practice at a leisurely pace. Don't be too hasty, lest your inner demons breed. Let's do this. 3 days. Is 3 days enough? Enough. Emperor Baiken took off the token from his waist and handed it to Lindsay. With this token, you can pass through the 3rd floor of the library pavilion. Seeing the token handed to him, Lindsay seemed to see 50 points of talent progress waving to him. He quickly took it. Thank you, Grandpa. If Grandpa has nothing else to do, Lindsay will leave first. Emperor Baiken waved his hand. If something like this happens, I am not in the mood to continue this golden autumn feast. Go ahead and go. Lindsay resigned. After saying that, Lindsay's figure gradually faded and turned into pieces of illusory feathers that disappeared in place. Emperor Baiken watched Lindsay leave happily. No one knows what kind of mood is hidden under his imperial mask at this moment. Quote. After Lindsay left, Emperor Baiken's expression gradually returned to calm. He glanced at the people in Wenyuan Pond. Throw your sleeves and robe away. I will respectfully send you off to your majesty. Emperor Baiken also left. As the two left, the atmosphere in Wenyuanchi suddenly turned from gloomy to clear. Many people breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, I didn't expect that our Baiken dynasty actually has such a real dragon hidden in it. He hid it so deeply. All of us were deceived by him. At an age when he was young, frivolous and wanton, he was actually able to pretend to be restrained for 10 years. Such a character. I can't imagine that he is only 18 years old. Based on what happened back then, wouldn't it mean that he was only 8 years old, and he had already realized that the Lin family was in trouble when he was still a child, and he has been keeping a low profile ever since? Hiss. Is there really such a precocious and evil talent as Lindsay in this world? Tisk. Compared to his character, his talent is more terrifying. He is only 18 years old. At the age of 18, he has already surpassed countless heroes who have spent decades of hard training and reached the peak of the acquired world. With such qualifications, not to mention our Baiken, even if we look at Wuan in the previous dynasty, we can't find a peerless evildoer who can rival Lin Zi. Quote. Not only his cultivation level, but his cultivation level is also no worse than his cultivation level. The 9th level 8 Desolation Ward techniques and the profound shadowless sword finger, even if he started practicing in the womb, he would still be able to can't it go this far. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed that there was such a genius as Lin Zi in the world. Quote. Everyone was talking about Lin Zi, and the discussion centered on Lin Zi. As for the emperor's anger and the tripartite agencies, no one cares. From the moment Lin Zi took action, the protagonist and nature of this banquet have changed. Everyone was talking about Lin Zi. Sha Qinghe, who is dressed in a white dress and looks like proud snow and cold plums, is alone by the Wenyuan pond, leaning on the wall and listening to the wind, playing with the spring water, creating a beautiful scenery of its own. She listened to everyone's discussion about Lin Zi and looked at the direction Lin Zi left, with ripples in her beautiful eyes. Lin Zi, the son of the Lin family, has a terrifying heart and peerless talent. He is indeed the most dazzling genius she has ever seen in her life. But she still couldn't figure it out. What did Lin Zi mean when he looked at her? Chapter 11. At this moment, Lin Zi, who was talked about by everyone, had openly walked into the royal library, the largest storage of kung fu skills in the Baiken dynasty. Entering the library, Lin Zi immediately started sweeping. No matter whether it is a good exercise or not, or what type of exercise it is, just get a book and start reading it. You looked through it. God Level Understanding LV2 13/100. After turning 2 pages, the talent was loaded, so Lin Zi put down this book and picked up another one. You looked through it. This cycle was repeated, and Lin Zi quickly completed the entire first floor of the library. It has to be said that the royal family is a royal family after all, and there are more than 300 copies of low-level human-level skills alone. Although human-level inferiors are relatively common, many techniques are duplicated in the Lin family's collection. But even so, Lin Zi's talent progress still increased by a full 13 points. God Level Understanding LV2 26/100. The progress of God Level Understanding has reached 26. The progress is encouraging. According to this ratio, if you increase the progress by 50 points, you will definitely not run away. So, Lin Zi decisively ran to the second floor and continued to read one book after another. You have read through God Level Understanding LV2 54/100. Continue. Lin Zi ran up to the 3rd floor. Like the Lin family library, the 3rd floor of the royal family also displays the most precious human-level top-grade techniques. Outside the gate, 2 royal guardians are responsible for guarding the 3rd floor of the library to prevent theft. However, Lin Zi had Emperor Baiken's token with him, so the 2 of them just looked at each other before opening the door and letting him go. Sir, the top-level human-level skills are precious. They are only allowed to be practiced inside. They are not allowed to be borrowed or taken out. Accepting His Majesty's decree, you have 3 days to comprehend. We will remind you on time after 3 days. Lin Zi nodded and walked into the 3rd floor of the royal library. Click, click, click. The door slowly closed. On the 3rd floor of the Imperial Library, 8 high platforms are placed in parallel. There is a precious human-level top-grade kung fu book on every high platform. Each book is a unique secret that made the royal family famous. The royal family has relied on them to win over many masters over the years. The 9 Extremes of Life Mysterious Needle that Lin Zi wanted most was among them. You have read 9 Extremes of Life Mysterious Needle. Under your terrifying understanding that is close to Taoism, The 9 Extremes of Life mysterious needle has been completely broken by you, and it has been deduced to the 10th needle. Juji Mingshuan Needle LV10, Zochan. You have comprehended a top-grade human-level technique, and you have the power of divine-level understanding. God-level understanding LV2, 55 100ths. Waves of mysterious life force poured into Lin Zi's body, and mysterious secrets about the human body entered Lin Zi's mind. Lin Zi's eyes lit up instantly. Good stuff. After comprehending the 9 Extremes Life mysterious needle at the 10th level, Lin Zi realized that he had underestimated this technique. The Juji Mingshuan needle can save people, but it can also kill people. This medical technique combines many mysterious methods related to the human body, such as acupuncture, pulse sealing, and qi regulating. It can make Lin Zi more aware of the advantages and disadvantages of every acupuncture point, every meridian, and every breath in the human body. While providing precise treatment and prescribing the right medicine, it can also reincarnate into death and kill people invisible. Sure enough, no matter which world, the doctor is always the one who knows how to kill best. After sighing, Lin Zi looked at the other 7 books. There are 7 skills left. A boxing book, Fierce Heart King Fist. 1 Palm Technique, Heart Destroying Divine Palm. A body refining method, Shaolin True Physique. The other 4 books are not of much use to Lin Zi. They should be used to increase the progress of his talent and use more methods. You have read through. After reading for a while, the talent progress came to 62 100ths and there were still 38 points left to upgrade to LV3. And as the talent progress increases, after absorbing and strengthening so many techniques, Lin Zi's life breath made another breakthrough. Boom! The majestic pressure erupted instantly like a flood bursting its banks. The powerful essence emitted, gathered into the essence wolf smoke, and faintly condensed into the prototype of a prehistoric beast. The violent, wild, primitive and ancient breath instantly broke the time and space barrier. This terrifying savage beast seemed to be coming from the distant ancient times across time and space. Buzz. Destructive fluctuations spread throughout the palace. Everyone's hearts tightened at this moment, and they felt as if they were being targeted by some terrifying prehistoric beast. Their hair stood on end, and a shuddering feeling instantly spread throughout their bodies. The 2 royal guardians closest to the fluctuation turned pale instantly. The breath of the beast that seemed so close made their whole bodies tremble uncontrollably. Completely lost control of his life. In a daze, the 2 of them thought that a natural disaster was coming and their lives would be in danger. But this violent wave went away just as quickly as it came. It's so fast that it seems like everyone's illusion. Gone in a flash. Quote. The 2 of them breathed a sigh of relief with lingering fear. They looked at each other in surprise again. Just now. You feel it too. Quote. I'm not sure. I just feel like something is staring at me. A stream of cold air rushes into my heart uncontrollably. It makes my whole body shiver and my hair stands on end. That feeling is 100 times more terrifying than facing an angry majesty. I'm almost the same as you, it seems it's not an illusion. In this case, the 2 looked at each other and said in horror, could it be that the legendary innate god passed by our Baikan dynasty just now? Quote. Little did the 2 of them know that their casual guess was already infinitely close to the truth. Although Lin Zi is not innate now, he is not far behind. To enter the Shantian, you need to condense the essence, energy and spirit, and turn the 3 flowers of essence, energy and spirit into 1 yuan. In the 9th level of the future, you will first refine your body and build your essence, then refine your essence and turn it into qi, and then refine your qi to build up your spirit. In the end, God will make it clear, use God to control essence, use essence to nourish qi, use qi to accumulate God, create a 3-flower cycle, and return to the innate unity. Lin Zi's half-step innateness was through the accumulation of countless mental skills, cheating and bypassing the 3-flower cycle, and taking the lead in condensing the flower of qi. Now, after a sweep in the royal library, various advanced bodybuilding exercises were deduced and improved, and the flower of essence was forcibly condensed. Now, Lin Zi is only 1 step away from the innate God-man, the flower of God. This made Lin Zi have a new idea about promoting Shantian. Collect spiritual consciousness strengthening exercises. Through the accumulation of spiritual exercises, Maybe he can be directly promoted to Shantian without waiting for the completion guide of The Record of the 7 Stars of the Fantasy Moon, more than 20 days later. However, spiritual exercises are hard to find, and there are only a few copies in the entire royal family's library. Yes, back to the original starting point. He still has to continue looking for the next store of exercises. The 2 largest families in Baikan have all been wiped out. Whose turn will it be next? Half a day later, Lin Zi came out of seclusion. Click, click, click. The door to the 3rd floor of the library slowly opened. The 2 royal guardians looked confused. Sir, are you ready now? How long has it been? It seems like only half a day. A little gain is enough. After that, Lin Zi returned the Baikan Emperor's token to the 2 royal guardians. Afterwards, he turned into pieces of illusory feathers and disappeared in place. The 2 took the token and froze in place for a long time. Leaving now. 3 days only took half a day. This Mr. Lin. After all, he is the only heir to the Lin family. He has a top-level human-level fighting method. It is normal to look down on our royal family's top-level human level. The 2 of them didn't believe that it only took half a day for Lin Zi to memorize all the 8 human-level top-grade books in it. One Piece is worthy of the sky. The top-level human level is not just a small role of a cat or a dog. There is no such thing as a top-level human level in the world. The top-level human level is the most top-notch technique that can be accessed in the acquired world. Each of these techniques is extremely profound, and the route of performing them is also extremely complex. Being able to memorize a book in half a day is considered a gift. Therefore, the 2 of them never thought that Lin Zi had memorized all the techniques, let alone that Lin Zi had understood all the techniques. They only regarded Lin Zi as a top-level human-level inheritor and looked down upon him as a top-level human-level inheritor. But, one of the guards suddenly reacted, Lin Zi left just now, did you notice it? The 2 of them worked on the 3rd floor of the library pavilion and had no contact with the outside world for a long time. During this half-day, the 2 of them did not know what happened in Wenyuanchi. When they received the emperor's order, they only asked them to open the 3rd floor for 3 days and not to neglect Lin Zi. Another guard said with a serious expression, no, the Lin family's Tianyu 6th fantasy has already reached an extremely high level. And when he came out just now, he always gave me a feeling of being invincible and having nowhere to start, as if this person is omnipotent and has a strong grasp on evil. The guard's perception was not wrong. Nowadays, Lin Zi's mental skills are the top-grade human-level Bawang fighting method, his body skills are the top-level human-level Tianyu Liuhuan, his body training is the top-level human-level Shaolin True Body, and his fingering, boxing, and palm skills are all top-level human-level martial arts. A perfect master-level hexagonal warrior. The only fly in the ointment is that the royal family also has a human-level swordsmanship. If Lin Zi can learn it, it will definitely become a killer. It's a pity that it can't be replaced. That sword technique is the same as the Lin family's Bawang fighting technique. It is secretly passed down by direct descendants. Only direct descendants of the Li family can practice it in the entire royal family, and it is never taught to outsiders. Don't even think about Lin Zi having a foreign surname. Then, I'm afraid this Lin Zi. Don't think about it. Lin Zi can come to the library and make no secret of his cultivation. I'm afraid that earth-shaking changes have already happened outside, but we just don't know it here. Then we are just going to guard the library. Why are we worrying so much? This matter in the Lin family is not going to happen in a day or 2. Let's just wait and see what happens. 2. Lin Ao was doing his exercises with his eyes closed, calmly regulating his breath and healing those restless old wounds. At this time, rapid footsteps sounded. Lin Ao opened his eyes suddenly and finished adjusting his breath. He sat calmly on the Grand Master's chair, with the jade beads in his hands, still the immortal god of war who scolded Fang Chu. Not long after, the maid Xiaoqui ran in panting. Master, palace, something happened in the palace. The words just fell. Click, boom. One of the beads in Lin Ao's hand had a deep crack. His eyes immediately focused on Xiaoqui, and a murderous aura was brewing in Lin Ao's eyes. What happened? Isn't Lao Mo also in the palace? Lin Ao asked as calmly as possible. But Xiaoqui could still hear the crazy murderous intention behind Lin Ao's words. Xiaoqui shivered, and in order to prevent Lin Ao from misunderstanding, she quickly and briefly explained, it was the assassins who caused trouble at the Golden Autumn Banquet and disrupted the Golden Autumn Banquet. But then the young master took action and killed all the assassins. His Majesty the Emperor also rewarded the young master for 3 days of meditation in the library. Upon hearing this, Lin Ao's murderous aura disappeared instantly, replaced by deep doubts. The young master took action and killed all the assassins. My family knows my own business. My grandson Lin Zi has some talents, but he is far behind the assassins who can sneak into the Golden Autumn Banquet. Are you sure it was the young master who took action? Lin Ao's words were full of deep doubts. Who says it isn't? When she first got the news, Xiaoqui was confused. It is obvious that the young master is only a third-level acquired monk. How could he possibly kill the assassin at the Golden Autumn Banquet? How did he suddenly transform into a genius that everyone praises for his extraordinary charisma and who has been hiding his talents and biding his time for many years? Is this still the young master Lin Zi that Xiaoqui knows? But the person who came to report the news had been confirmed repeatedly. Young master Lin Zi's surprise was witnessed by everyone at the Golden Autumn Banquet, and it cannot be faked. So, knowing the seriousness of the matter, Xiaoqui hurriedly came to Lin Ao to report the matter. Xiaoqui said quickly, yes. Everyone who came back from the Golden Autumn Banquet saw it, and it was the young master who did it. Our people also verified the authenticity of this news. Lin Ao was silent for a moment. Try me through the matter from beginning to end, explain it clearly, and don't miss a word. Yes, Xiaoqui carefully organized her words and explained the news clearly one by one. The thing is like this. At the beginning, the young master and his majesty entered the Golden Autumn Banquet together, and then. It wasn't until the assassin disguised as a maid suddenly took action and kidnapped the young master that the young master finally took action. According to them, the young master directly used the magical power of the Bawang war technique to suck the assassin in. Having said this, Xiaoqui imitated Lin Zi's movements and clenched her right hand. Just like this, it was pinched directly in the palm of my hand and turned into a pool of blood. Lin Ao narrowed his eyes. What Xiaoqui was talking about was exactly a way of using the Lin family's secret 8 desolate war techniques to control the 8 desolates. This is the only one in Baikan. Now, there are only 2 people in the entire Baikan society who know the 8 desolations war techniques. One is Lin Ao, and the other is naturally Lin Zi, the only descendant of the Lin family. But the use of Yu Bawang must reach at least the 8th level of the day after tomorrow, and the realm of the technique must also reach the 8th level before it can be used. My little grandson is only on the 2nd floor. Xiaoqui added, by the way, they also said that the young master used Tianyu's 6 illusions and also reached a very advanced level. Lin Ao thought it was ridiculous. Suddenly, the world seemed to have changed. He was silent for a moment. Where is the young master now? His Majesty the Emperor rewarded him with 3 days of meditation in the library pavilion. He is currently in the library pavilion. Go and call Lin Wei back. I want to ask myself what happened at the Golden Autumn Banquet. Yes, dawn. The faint morning light breaks the silence of the night. The soft light of chance spread at the palace gate, illuminating the figure slowly approaching in the darkness. Lin Mo turned his head and looked at Lin Zi, who was slowly walking towards him, with extremely complicated eyes. During this half-day, Lin Mo, who had been guarding the palace gate, already knew the ins and outs of the Golden Autumn Banquet. At this moment, looking at the familiar figure that he had watched as he grew up, Lin Mo only felt strange. The horror, doubt, sigh, admiration in my heart, just to name a few. Step forward. After holding it in all night, he had a lot to say to Lin Zi. Master. Lin Zi smiled at him and said, Master Mo, let's go back and talk. I haven't returned home all night. I think Grandpa and the others are impatient. Lin Mo looked around, and the imperial city guards cast inquiring glances at the 2 of them. In the darkness where the morning light could not reach, there were teams of spies from all sides keeping an eye on the palace gate. Yes, he suppressed the doubts in his heart and led Lin Zi into the car. Afterwards, a luxurious carriage welcomed the dim light of the morning, covered with morning dew that had settled all night, and returned home with a full load under the gaze of pairs of eyes. Lin Mansion. Ah, master, are you back? The maid Xiaoqui was surprised. What, you don't want me to come back? Xiaoqui shook her head repeatedly. No, I mean, master, aren't you in the royal library? It's only been half a day. I'll be back after reading it. Xiaoqui pouted. Oh, Xiaoqui, is not high in cultivation and not knowledgeable enough, but she is not some ignorant fool. I want to read the Imperial Library in half a day. Bad young master, you lied to me again. If you don't want to say it, just say it. Where's Grandpa? Oh, by the way, the master is waiting for you at the main residence. Lin Zi nodded and walked towards the main mansion with Lin Mo. Before leaving, Lin Zi suddenly turned around and said, go get a set of silver needles. Send it to the main palace in a moment. Yes. The head of the Lin family. Lin Ao has been waiting for a long time. After learning from Lin Wei what happened at the Golden Autumn banquet, Lin Ao didn't sleep a wink all night and didn't even bother to take care of his injuries. Just wait for Lin Zi to come back and ask. My grandson Lin Zi, please give my regards to Grandpa. Lin Ao raised his eyes and looked at Lin Zi carefully. The powerful pressure of the acquired peak was released instantly. Boom. In the main palace, wind is blowing on the plains, and the storms are rising one after another. Waves of powerful spiritual pressure blew across the earth, bending the ancient trees in the courtyard. In this storm, a fierce warrior, the sound of swords and guns, soothed the autumn wind. The terrifying general's murderous aura was overwhelming and suddenly filled the entire Lin family. Above the sky, the wind is surging. Dark clouds are gathering. The sky where the entire Lin family was located became dark and dull. Boom. Thunder is brewing in it. A heart-stopping depression arose in everyone's hearts. In a daze, it's like a doomsday disaster is coming, causing upheaval in the world. In this terrifying power, even Lin Mo, who was at the 8th level of the acquired world, couldn't help but have his energy and blood surging, and used his energy to resist. However, Lin Zi still talked and laughed freely without changing his expression. With a folding fan in hand, the breeze is soothing. Quote. Lin Ao let out a long sigh and calmed down the overwhelming spiritual pressure. Even if he exerts all his strength, he still can't see through his grandson. You kid. Lin Ao sighed and was about to say something. Sudden, Lin Ao was furious. Whoosh. His figure turned into pieces of feathers and disappeared. Instead, streaks of bloody evil energy that dominated the 8 wastelands rushed toward Lin Zi. Kill. For a moment, it was like thousands of troops roaring. But Lin Zi just waved the folding fan casually, either blocking it, sweeping it, or fanning it. Then he blocked all Lin Ao's attacks. When Lin Ao saw this, his eyes flashed. The realm of Bawang's tactics is mentioned again and again. The skill rises again and again. Its offensive is getting more and more fierce and fierce. The figures of the two people kept flickering and changing in the Lin family's mansion. The speed was so fast that Lin Mo, a master of the 8th level, could not see clearly. Lin Mo could only marvel at it, and kept sighing. There is a successor to my Lin family. After a while, Lin Ao and Lin Zi stopped at the same time. Lin Ao stroked his beard, sighing and feeling relieved. What a good boy, you have practiced the 6 illusions of Tianyu, the 8 desolations war techniques, and the invisible sword fingers to the great perfection without saying a word. No wonder you were able to hide for so many years without being discovered. Even this old man, who has been watching you grow up, has been deceived by you. Lin Zi said with a smile, the Lin family tree is very attractive and is surrounded by enemies on all sides. If the grandson doesn't pretend, some people will not be relieved. My grandson will not have the chance to wait until today. Hearing Lin Zi talk about the Lin family, Lin Ao's expression darkened. He took a deep look at Lin Zi and sighed, it's a good thing to be careful. Just saying this, Lin Ao stopped continuing this topic. Grandpa is very pleased that you have achieved what you have achieved today. From now on, who dares to say that my Lin family has no successor? Who dares to say that my grandson, Lin Ao, is useless? He continued, originally, I was worried that your kid wouldn't be able to take care of himself in the future. Let you go to the Golden Autumn banquet to seek an official position. Now it seems, the reason why you suddenly agreed to go to the Golden Autumn banquet this time is because you were well prepared to declare yourself forcefully. Lin Zi smiled and said, not entirely. Oh, when I went to the palace this time, she came. Just as he was talking, Xiaoqui had already arrived at the main palace with a set of silver needles. Master, this is the silver needle you want. Lin Zi took the silver needle and said to Lin Ao, this is the main reason why my grandson went to the palace this time. As soon as these words came out, Lin Ao and Lin Mo were stunned for a while. They took a fixed look at the set of silver needles. It's just ordinary, not some incredible magic weapon. Lin Zi went to the palace just for this set of silver needles. Impossible. ... The two were silent and thought for a long time. Only then did they think of a possibility that made their hearts beat half a beat slower. Royal Palace, Silver Needle. Could it be? Do you know how to heal? Facing the slightly surprised looks from the two of them, Lin Zi said. Walking around the world, having too many skills doesn't weigh you down. My grandson is still young. He can learn a little bit of everything and dabble in a little bit of everything. He will always be useful in the future. Besides, I have always been worried about Grandpa's injury. Over the years, I have been studying medical methods in case your old injuries break out due to overwork and one day your grandson will be unable to recover. And now, Grandpa, you don't have to hide it anymore. I have these eyes that have been trained in the sapphire eyes. Your injuries have obviously reached the point of being unbearable. Hearing this, Lin Ao's hand stroking his beard suddenly paused. Jade Spiritual Eyes is a human-level mid-level pupil technique treasured by the Lin family. This technique requires very high qualifications and can easily damage the eyes, making it very difficult to practice. However, once you have mastered it, you will have the miraculous effect of observing the microscopic holes like bright flames, clearly seeing the enemy's breath moving towards the meridians and acupuncture points, and anticipating the enemy's opportunity to strike first. If Lin Zi really practiced the Jade Spirit Eye, he might have known about his injury from the beginning. I thought only Lao Mo knew about this matter. Lin Ao sighed deeply. Lin Mo asked Lin Zi with a serious face, since the young master knows, is there any way to cure him? His tone was slightly urgent. Lin Mo had no choice but to be anxious. Ever since Lin Ao took him out of the war orphan and brought him to the battlefield, he had followed Lin Ao in the north and south until he retired. The two have been together for nearly 100 years. To him, Lin Ao was the respected commander-in-chief, the god of war, the lord he served, the mentor who taught him how to grow up, his strict brother, and his closest family member. Lin Ao's secret injury has always been a worry for him. Certainly, Lin Zi gave an affirmative answer. After studying medical skills over the years, I already have a clue about Grandpa's injury. What I lack now is just a sophisticated acupuncture technique. And when I went to the palace this time, I wanted to get the 9 Extremes Life Mysterious Needle from the Imperial Medical Office. With the means and the Juji Mingzan needle, coupled with my cultivation, it is enough to cure the hidden wounds and siltation in Grandpa's body. Hearing this, Lin Ao and Lin Mo were stunned for a long time. Xiaoqui on the side also understood why his young master came back in half a day. This half day, the young master is not going to learn royal skills. He just looked for the acupuncture method in Juji Mingshuan needle. Master, Xiaoqui suddenly felt a little sad. It is obvious that the young master is a peerless genius, and it is obvious that he has always been paying attention to everyone in the Lin family. It was obvious that he had always known about the master's injury and the situation of the Lin family. But he had to restrain himself and pretend to be ordinary, so he could only keep working hard in secret. Obviously he is at the age where he is young and wanton. This is so unfair to a young genius. Lin Ao and Lin Mo were stunned for a while and then were moved. In their minds, the image of a young genius who endured humiliation and forged ahead for the sake of his family and relatives became more and more full, and it vividly appeared on the paper. I've suffered a lot from you these past years. Lin Zi felt helpless when he saw how many people were thinking. He can't talk about the Juji Mingshuan needle he just learned, right? Learning the Juji Mingzan needle in half a day and reaching the point where it was enough to treat Lin Ao was something that could no longer be explained by the word genius. The power of God-level understanding has exceeded the scope of human understanding, and it is anti-human and anti-rule. Lin Zi could only say, as long as Grandpa is safe, it will be fine. After that, Lin Zi didn't say much, just took out the silver needle and started applying the acupuncture. If he continued talking, Lin Zi would be so embarrassed that he would be kicked out of 2 rooms and 1 living room. Then I'll start treatment. During the entire process, please do not resist and keep your mind at ease, otherwise accidents may easily occur. After saying that, Lin Zi held the silver needle and entered the state. The aura of the whole person became as deep as an abyss, unfathomable. At the same time, Lin Zi's pupils also turned into the color of crystal clear sapphire. The radiant green light seems to be able to penetrate everything and see the essence through the appearance. The green jade spiritual pupils are activated. Lin Ao was delighted. I have no regrets seeing you like this. Just try it boldly and safely. After saying that, Lin Ao closed his eyes and let his whole body relax. Seeing this, Lin Zi activated the Juji Life mysterious needle. The silver needles seemed to come alive at this moment, rotating flexibly around Lin Ao's body, emitting wisps of white energy full of vitality. This white energy was pervasive, constantly nourishing Lin Ao's body with declining energy and blood, repairing the hidden wounds and damaged meridians accumulated in his body. Under Lin Zi's powerful cultivation that was infinitely close to innate, the ruddy color on Lin Ao's face appeared at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Then, silver needles were inserted into specific acupoints one by one. Drops of dark brown blood seeped out along the end of the silver needle in an instant. Kai, the dark brown blood seemed to contain some kind of highly corrosive poison. When a drop fell to the ground, it immediately made a boiling sound. Dee dee, chi. As dark brown blood flowed out, Lin Ao's face gradually turned pale. Lin Zi shot out several more streams of spiritual energy one after another, poured them into Lin Ao's meridians, and used the special technique of the 9 extremes life mysterious needle to guide the circulation of spiritual energy in Lin Ao's body. After several cycles, Lin Ao's complexion gradually turned from pale to rosy. The hidden wounds and accumulation in the body are slowly being eliminated and repaired. His energy and blood have returned to their former strength. Whoosh! Lin Zi tightened the needle. All right. Lin Ao's hidden wounds were indeed serious. However, Lin Zi was now extremely close to the innate cultivation level and the 10th needle of the 9 extremes life mysterious needle, so he could handle it easily. In less than a quarter of an hour, Lin Ao's hidden wounds were completely healed by Lin Zi. Next, you only need to cultivate yourself for a period of time, calm down and recover, and then you will be fine. Lin Ao opened his eyes and took a closer look at his current physical condition. The spiritual energy circulates smoothly, the meridians relax, and the whole person feels as if a heavy burden has been lifted off, and the whole body feels relaxed. Lin Ao was dumbfounded. He said in disbelief, "Is this good? You must know that these hidden wounds and overwork have been accumulated on the battlefield, dragging him down for many years. Even with his acquired 9th level cultivation, he often feels weak and anxious, and often adjusts his breathing overnight, unable to sleep at night." He had also gone to the palace to test it secretly with the imperial physician, but even the imperial physician could not do anything about such an injury. Over the years, Lin Ao had given up any hope of curing these hidden injuries and strains, and he never thought that Lin Zi could completely cure them. After all, Lin Zi is only 18 years old. At the age of 18, it is very rare to be able to practice martial arts such as the Bawang war technique to the great perfection. How can he have too much energy to study medical skills to a point that exceeds the imperial physician's order? Lin Ao said he wanted Lin Zi to give it a try, but he really just wanted him to try. But he never expected that Lin Zi would actually cure him effortlessly after just one try. Doesn't this mean that in addition to his profound cultivation and amazing martial arts skills, Lin Zi's medical attainments have also surpassed that of the old lady Yiling who has been studying medical skills for more than 100 years? Thinking of this, even with Lin Ao's years of cultivating qi, he couldn't help but trigger a tsunami in his heart. Everyone said that he, Lin Ao, was extremely talented and unparalleled in the world, and that he was expected to reach the realm of an innate god and become a saint within 200 years of age. But compared with his little grandson, this talented Baiken wizard looks like a real mediocrity. He is 18 years old and will reach his peak the day after tomorrow. When I was 18 years old, I was still struggling with the 4th level of acquired skills. He is 18 years old, proficient in all kinds of martial arts and medical skills, and has reached the state of Zochin. When I was 18 years old, even the 8 Desolations war technique was only at the 3rd level, so there was no need to mention the other techniques. He was 18 years old, endured the humiliation, kept a low profile, honed his immortal character, and became a blockbuster. I am 18 years old. Hey, don't mention it. Based on this comparison, I feel like I am not worthy of the word wizard. This little grandson of my own. Tisk. A true monster. Lin Ao was extremely convinced. While he was convinced, Lin Ao also felt infinite pride and relief in his heart. Because such a monster is his bloodline, Lin Ao. He is the successor of the Lin family. There is a successor to the Lin family. When people reach old age, they don't want much. It is nothing more than that future generations will get married and start a business, and the family business will prosper. Old people like Lin Ao, whose aging has been accelerated due to injuries and whose family is about to come to an end, want even less. He only hoped that Lin Zi could protect himself, and other than that, he had nothing else to ask for. But now Lin Zi has directly raised his expectations to the fullest and doubled them tens of thousands of times. How could this not make Lin Ao proud and happy? At this time, Lin Mo on the side saw that Lin Ao looked good, so he quickly asked, "Master, how do you feel now?" Lin Ao laughed, and his laughter was full of energy. "I feel better than ever before. It's like I've lost hundreds of kilograms of burden at once. I feel light and relaxed all over." "Good boy, you gave me another big surprise," Lin Zi said. "It's not completely healed yet. It will take a period of meditation to fully recover." "Okay, I listen to you." Lin Ao was cured. Lin Zi added, "Also, one more thing. I remember that there were many disabled soldiers among the people who retired from the battlefield with you, right? The battlefield is changing rapidly and everything needs to be urgent. Therefore, many of Lin Ao's soldiers suffered from incurable diseases, resulting in their inability to display their strength normally. Therefore, after these soldiers withdrew, they stayed with the Lin family army for a few days and then voluntarily left the imperial capital to avoid bringing shame to the Lin family army and dragging down the Lin family army brothers. However, Lin Ao would never treat his brothers badly who fought with him on the battlefield. Although these soldiers insisted on leaving the imperial capital and refused to stay, Lin Ao would give them subsidies every year and festival to make their lives better. Therefore, the soldiers thought of the good of the Lin family and kept in touch with Lin Ao. As long as Lin Ao called, they would insist on going to contribute their meager strength even if they could no longer hold a sword. And this is indeed the case. In the original book, when the Lin family was in trouble, these wounded soldiers rushed to the Lin family to support them overnight without being called by Lin Ao after hearing the news. A word called Lin family army, a lifetime of Lin family army. They are all the core pillars of the Lin family. So now that Lin Zi has the ability, he must activate this hidden force. On the one hand, this will naturally enhance the strength of the Lin family. On the other hand, with the talent of God-level understanding, Lin Zi is destined to embark on the road of collecting skills from all over the world in the future to fill this huge skill gap. Therefore, he needs more loyal help to collect skills for him. When Lin Ao heard Lin Zi suddenly mention those wounded soldiers, the first thing he thought of was that Lin Zi's now superb medical skills might be able to cure those wounded soldiers. Lin Ao's regret has always been that these soldiers who followed him on the battlefield and became ill. If they could be cured, it would be a big regret for Lin Ao. But, Lin Ao took a deep look at Lin Zi. A strange color flashed in his eyes. But after just a moment, he asked nonchalantly, "Most of their injuries are old injuries that missed the opportunity for treatment. Are you sure you can save them?" Lin Zi said conservatively, "I can't say for sure, but it's at least 80%. With Lin Zi's current cultivation level and the realm of the 9 extremes life mysterious needle, within the day after tomorrow, as long as it is not a terminal disease that is rare in the world, Lin Zi is sure to cure him." Hearing this, Lin Ao, who was usually stoic, couldn't suppress the joy on his face. Today is a good day. Ever since Lin Zi came back, the smile on Lin Ao's face had almost never stopped. Okay, Lin Ao said 3 good words in a row, which showed his inner joy. "Old Mo, go and recall them quickly." "Yes, sir." When it comes to disabled soldiers, Lin Mo is very active. Before he finished speaking, he turned into a gust of wind and left the main mansion. Lin Ao said again, Xiao Kui, go and take care of things and tell the house to prepare more food for 2,000 people. Yes, Xiao Kui also left. Only Lin Zi and Lin Ao's grandson were left in the main palace. The joy on Lin Ao's face disappeared instantly. After sending Lin Mo and Xiao Kui away, he looked at Lin Zi with a serious expression. Gather the old wounded soldiers and heal them all. You should understand what this means. The soldiers who followed Lin Ao on the battlefield were all elites who had experienced hundreds of battles and had strong martial arts skills. In addition, after so many years, almost none of their current cultivation levels are lower than the 5th level of acquired cultivation. If so many elite and strong men are cured, it means that the Lin family will have at least 2,000 more powerful private troops. And this will inevitably cause turmoil in the entire Baikan court. Lin Ao is the god of war of Baikan. He is not only powerful in military ability, but also has a keen political sense. Otherwise, they would not have retreated immediately after the founding of the People's Republic of China, giving opportunities to more people and thus spreading the weight of the Lin family. As early as Lin Zi started talking about treating wounded soldiers, Lin Ao sensed something was wrong. His little grandson had kept a low profile for so many years, but today he suddenly used the assassin's move to show off his cards to everyone, and even offered to treat wounded soldiers. His purpose is definitely not as simple as simply treating wounded soldiers. Lin Zi was not surprised by Lin Ao's reaction. Lin Ao was upright throughout his life, loyal to the emperor, patriotic, and abiding by the etiquette of the emperor and his ministers. He is particularly sensitive to military and political matters. Lin Zi replied decisively, I know. Lin Ao was silent for a moment. I don't know what you want to do. But I am old, and you have already proved to me your ability and character. This Lin family will be in your hands sooner or later. Lin Ao took up the string of cracked sapphire beads again. Whatever you want to do, just do it boldly. Grandpa will always support you. But there's one thing you have to remember. My Lin family can walk and sit upright. If something is done, it is done, and if something is not done, it is not done. Lin Zi nodded. My grandson knows what he is doing. That's good, Lin Zi said meaningfully, but I'm afraid some people don't know. In the past, the Lin family had no successors, and would eventually come to an end sooner or later. But now Lin Zi is rising strongly. Some people are naturally invisible to you. Lin Zi was sure that the following days would be lively. If they don't care, that's not normal. Hearing Lin Zi's words, the jade Buddha beads in Lin Ao's hand stopped. A hint of coldness spread slightly. My Lin family tree attracts the wind. Inside, Baikan is afraid of it. Outside, wolves want to eradicate my Lin family. After recovering from the hidden injury, the evil spirit of the god of war in Lin Ao's eyes became even stronger. A flash of blood flashed from his eyes, reflecting a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. You, be more careful. Lin Zi gently waved the folding fan in his hand. I just hope they don't fall too fast. After practicing this invincible hexagonal skill, Lin Zi had long wanted to be quiet and restless, and wanted to try his skills. If they are too inexperienced. On the contrary, it is meaningless. Looking at the sky in the distance, Lin Zi couldn't help but have a trace of expectation in his eyes. After the Golden Autumn Banquet, autumn has already begun for some time. The weather in Baikan Imperial Capital has become increasingly cool and pleasant in recent days. Come to think of it, winter will come earlier this year than in previous years. In the Imperial Capital, the merchants and tourists who came and went quickened their pace, wanting to take advantage of the golden autumn harvest season to quickly sell their goods and prepare all the supplies for winter. The prosperous imperial capital is bustling with traffic. Outside the imperial capital, swordsmen carrying heavy swords rushed from thousands of miles away. The swordsman arrived in the imperial capital, found an inn, climbed to the second floor, and ordered a table of delicious dishes. He didn't even move his chopsticks, as if waiting for someone to arrive. In the inn, the diners were discussing the major events that had happened in recent days. The swordsmen listened. They were discussing what happened at the Golden Autumn Banquet. The core of the topic was the Lin family's hidden dragon who had been hiding for many years and now became famous, Lin Zi. He has become a constant topic in the imperial capital these days and has become a hot shot. He was on the list of the most valuable divine warriors in the entire Baiken dynasty. The Shenwu ranking, the ranking of the top masters of the Baiken dynasty, gathers the top combat power of the entire Baiken dynasty. Every master who can be on this list is a strong person above the 8th level, and every one of them is a super grand master who is famous. For example, the number 1 on the divine martial ranking, the founder of Baiken, Emperor Baiken. Second on the list of divine martial arts, Baiken's immortal god of war, Lin Ao. Of course, there has always been debate among the people about the number 1 and 2 in the Shenwu ranking. Some people think that Lin Ao, the unparalleled god of war, is expected to challenge the innate gods, and he should be the real number 1 in the divine martial arts list. Some people believe that Emperor Baiken's swordsmanship is unparalleled in the world and he is number 1. As an emperor, he should be ranked number 1 to show respect for the majesty of the royal family. The two views have been in dispute. But no matter who is number 1, the fact that Lin Ao and Baiken Emperor, the two top Baiken heroes, are both on the list is enough to prove the gold content of this list. Every Baiken monk also regards being on the Shenwu ranking as a supreme honor. If you can be ranked among the top 10, you will be famous all over the world and your ancestors will be honored. And now, Lin Zi is on board. At the age of 18, he ranked 7th on the Shenwu ranking, pushing the former 7th place on the Shenwu ranking to 8th place. That's what the swordsman is here for. He was the one who Lin Zi squeezed out. You came quite early. Outside the inn, a scribe in blue came in and sat down directly in front of the swordsman. Not too early, just right. The green-shirted scribe smiled and said, after sitting here for so long, you should have listened to what they said, right? The swordsman said nothing and listened quietly to the discussions of the diners. The diners on the first floor were talking endlessly about Lin Zi's evil talent. Let me tell you, the master of the Lin family is still ranked low on this divine martial arts list. You see, according to the performance of the Lin family at the Golden Autumn Banquet, the 9th level 8 desolate war techniques can compete for the top 5 no matter what. Hey, that's what I said, but how can we compare the combat prowess of our monks purely by the level of their skills? Experience, consciousness, cultivation, and means are all indispensable. Although Lin Zi is extremely talented and kind, he is too young after all. At the age of 18, how many battles can he experience? How many methods can he practice? And even if they are both at the peak of the acquired world, which of the top 10 beings on the divine martial arts list has not been in this realm for decades? Compared with Lin Zi, they are about to touch the barrier of the innate god-man to become a saint. This is true. Age is the advantage of second young Master Lin, but it is also the gap between him and the strong men of the older generation. Today's second young Master Lin is indeed younger, but in a few years, it won't be possible to tell. Got it. Quote. Everyone was talking. At this time, a discordant voice sounded. Tisk, tisk, I say you people are still too short-sighted. I only saw the surface, but didn't see the deep essence. Oh, how do you say this? The man was sipping a small drink and smacking his mouth. You must have not forgotten what kind of person second young Master Lin is, right? Second young Master Lin experienced the death of his relatives when he was young. He was fed up with the coercion of various conspiracies and crises, so he hid his true self and showed weakness to others, and that's how he got to where he is today. With second young Master Lin's temperament that has remained constant for 10 years, do you really think that an assassin's accident at the Golden Autumn Banquet can expose second young Master Lin? Impossible. Think about it carefully. How many masters are there in the palace? The head of the Mirror Division, the manager of the Inner Palace, the commander of the Imperial Guards, and His Majesty the Emperor, who is number 1 in the divine martial arts list. With the special status of second young Master Lin, which of them would dare to make second young Master Lin lose half of his hair? Assassins can commit murders, but the incident happens suddenly. When they react and seize the opportunity to control the crane and capture the dragon, what do you think? Even I can think of this. How could the city know about second young Master Lin's character? If that's the case, then why did second young Master Lin take the initiative to expose himself? As soon as these words came out, everyone present thought carefully. Hey, this seems to be true. With so many masters in the palace, there must be a way to ingest them from the air, right? There is always a master who is fast enough to make the assassin's blood splatter on the spot, right? A mere little assassin wants to take hostages in front of all the masters. That is completely wishful thinking. That being said, everyone quickly thought of a terrifying possibility. Could it be? The next moment, the man revealed everyone's guess. Obviously, this is actually a confrontation between second young master Lin and that guy. Tisk, a person who has shown weakness and not come to the palace for many years suddenly comes to the palace. If I were that person, I would more or less have the idea of testing second young master Lin's true face, let alone the founding king of the country. Thinking about it this way, tisk, sitting next to His Majesty the Emperor, second young master Lin can still be held hostage by a mere assassin. Hey, tell me, what kind of master can make a top being who is number 1 on the divine martial arts list unable to react? Let an assassin place a knife on second young master Lin's neck. And second young master Lin is also a master of acquired peaks. How could he not notice the arrival of the assassin? Look at these two people carefully. Quote. Hiss. Oh my god. The Emperor is testing. Second young master Lin is announcing a counterattack. The thoughts of these two people are so terrible. Horrible. The man added, it's still early, what happens next is really scary. Huh, how do you say this? You guys, haven't you heard that the Lin family just issued a call-up order for the old soldiers yesterday, urgently calling back all the Lin family soldiers who have returned to recuperate outside? As soon as the news came out, the atmosphere in the inn suddenly froze. Everyone looks at me and I look at you, all wanting to find a sense of stability in each other's eyes. Lin family summons order. It's not like we're going to fight, why would we suddenly issue a summons order? Quote. Everyone was silent for a while. At this moment, no matter how dull people usually are, they can tell that something is wrong. Seeing a moment of silence in the inn, the man poured himself a glass of wine and drank it. Tisk. The days ahead will be exciting. Quote. Second floor. The swordsman and the blue-shirted scribe listened to everyone's words. How do you feel about such a person? The swordsman glanced at the blue-shirted scribe and said, I have improved my épée skills. Originally, I came to the Emperor to challenge you, the sixth one. But since this happened on the road, let's put off the fight between you and me for now. I'll go meet this second young master Lin first to see if he is as powerful as they say. Quote. After that, the swordsman turned and left. I will come back to you after I take back the 7th position on the divine martial ranking. The blue-shirted scribe smiled and said, if you can really defeat him, then you don't have to come to me. The swordsman stopped and turned around, have you ever faced him? The green-shirted scribe shook his head, intuition. The swordsman took a deep look at the blue-shirted scribe. Then turned and left. Imperial capital. A dark alley. A man in black stopped in front of Yi Shaoran, who was ranked 28th on the Shenwu ranking. Is something wrong? I heard that Mr. Yi has never failed since he took over Shira Villa. You are the most famous killer king in Baikan. It is said that there is no one you cannot kill. Yi Shaoran glanced at the man in black lightly, so. My master wants to ask you to kill someone. Who? Young master of the Lin family, Lin Zi. Yi Shaoran raised his eyebrows, do you dare to kill him? Too many people want him dead right now. Ha. Yi Shaoran smiled coldly, please come back, our Shira Villa will not accept this task. Is there any mission that the king of assassins of Shira Villa doesn't dare to take on? We are not obligated to die for you hiding rats. Quote. It seems that the so-called king of killers is nothing more than that. Yi Shaoran narrowed his eyes. Whoosh. In an instant, Yi Shaoran was behind the man in black, and his cold hands strangled the man in black's neck. It seems that your master is an uneducated person. He didn't even teach you, a wild dog, how to respect a strong man on the Shenwu list. The man in black struggled painfully. At the same time, he took out a package from his arms and opened a corner. Yi Shaoran took a look. Which do you think is more important, life or money? Young Master Lin is a 9th level acquired man. If I, an acquired 8th level assassin, assassinate him, am I seeking death? The man in black took out another package from his arms. Quote. Yi Shaoran let go of his hand. Don't even think about killing Lin Zi. I can only promise to try my best. The man in black took out a jade bottle. This bottle of strange poison is colorless and odorless. It will seal your throat when it sees blood. Even if it is touched by a 9th level expert from the day after tomorrow, he will definitely die. It can help you kill Lin Zi. Yi Shaoran thought carefully for a long time. In the end, he shook his head and said, the risk is too great. This Lin Zi is the 9th level of the acquired world, a super strong man who has reached the 9th level of Ba Wang's battle method. The man in black sighed, in this case, we can only find another way. You have to pay more. Make a deal. Royal Palace. Government Hall. All the civil and military officials were present in the hall. A middle-aged man was emotional and filled with righteous indignation. Your Majesty, I have a plan to tell you. I want to participate in the decision of Duke Linao and his grandson Lin Zi. The person who spoke was the current speaker of the Baikan military department, Wei Pingyuan, the head of the Wei family. The Wei family is another super family that has risen rapidly since the Lin family retired. It has won the favor of Emperor Baikan. It controls all the major military centers of the Baikan dynasty and has a high say in the military. After these years of development, their power in the military has become second only to the Lin family, and there is a faint tendency to compete with the Lin family. Moreover, the Wei family and the Lin family have always been in tit for tat. As long as there is something about the Lin family, the Wei family will always be on the front line when it comes to causing trouble. The reason for this is, everyone understands, how did the Wei family gain such favor from the emperor? This is what he relies on. Wei Pingyuan himself also knew the reason why he was pushed out by the emperor. The emperor needs balance, and the Wei family needs opportunities. From the moment the Wei family was pushed out, the Wei family had been tied to the emperor's interests. From now on, you can't retreat, you can only advance. Not only must we advance, but we must advance with great success. Call the white ones black and the small ones big. Emperor Baikan glanced at Wei Pingyuan. Wei Aiqing wants to take part in Duke Lin and his grandson. Did your two families have another conflict? Wei Pingyuan shook his head, feeling very excited. It's not that my Wei family has a conflict with his Lin family. But the Lin family wants to make trouble with our entire Baikan dynasty. They want to overthrow my entire Baikan dynasty. Your Majesty has to guard against it. Emperor Baikan raised his eyelids slightly and sat up a little straighter. What do Wei Aiqing mean by this? Lin Guogong has always been loyal to the emperor and patriotic, and abides by the principles of a monarch and his ministers. Everyone in Baikan knows this. Wei Pingyuan sneered, loyal to the emperor and patriotic. If old man Linao was truly loyal to the emperor and patriotic, how could he do such a thing of deceiving his superiors and concealing it from his subordinates? Look at Lin Zi of the Lin family. He is so scheming at such a young age. He is so silent and has reached the peak of the acquired world without telling everyone. And your Majesty, you don't know anything about it. Then Lin Zi didn't dare to come to the palace a few years ago. Wasn't it because he was afraid that your Majesty would find out? He's actually guarding you. What is this? This is bullying. For someone like me to do something like this, I was sure at that time that the Lin family must be harboring evil intentions and intending to rebel. Now that the Lin family summons order has been issued, this further confirms my suspicion. It's not a war now, nor is there a natural disaster. The Lin family actually activated the summons order without asking you for permission, recalled the old soldiers, and gathered private troops for no reason. Isn't this a conspiracy? They don't take your Majesty seriously at all. Your Majesty, how can you tolerate the Lin family anymore? I beg your Majesty to seal off the entire Lin family and kill this traitorous family that harbors evil intentions. As soon as this statement came out, the civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty. His expression was calm and unruffled. Although the Lin family's issuance of the summons order was a bit of a dynamic issue, as Duke Dingguo was chartered by the imperial power, these private armies were originally Lin Ao's exclusive authority. With the backstage of Emperor Baikan, Wei Pingyuan made a fuss about the private army not once or twice. They are used to it. If one day Wei Ping stopped barking at the Lin family dog, they would actually feel that things were about to change. So everyone just watched and listened quietly. Look at your nose with your eyes, look at your heart with your nose. Watching their performance very calmly, It has nothing to do with them anyway. Whether it's the emperor or the Lin family, they are all giants, and they can't afford to offend them. But the ministers of the Lin family didn't like Wei Pingyuan. They can't hear this. As soon as Wei Pingyuan finished speaking, someone immediately refuted with a sneer, Wei Sima's words are ridiculous and funny. You said that the Lin family deceived the superiors and concealed the truth from the inferiors, right? Okay, you are noble. You are amazing. Then I would like to ask Wei Sima, how many dogs does your family have? How many times do the dogs bark a day? Do they bark more in the morning or at night? Does it prefer to bark at shit or at Wei Sima? Also, how many times a day do Wei Sima and Madame Zun have love? Should they do it during the day or at night? Or should they do it in the middle of the night when everyone is asleep? Do you prefer standing or sitting? Has Sima Wei reported all these matters to His Majesty? If not, are you also guarding against His Majesty? Your Majesty, I also want to read a copy of Wei Sima. Wei Sima has evil intentions and dares to deceive the Emperor. I beg your Majesty to seal up Wei Sima's whole family. How dare you? How dare you fool your tongue and stir up trouble in front of His Majesty? Wei Pingyuan said with a gloomy face, Lu Dutong, what benefits did the Lin family give you? Why do you speak for the Lin family like this? Shall I speak for the Lin family? Isn't it Wei Sima that you are making something out of nothing? You, what are you? We, the Baikan dynasty, have always governed the country with loyalty and filial piety. Sima Wei stirred up trouble and deceived the saints. Lu stood up to stop it out of loyalty. Sima Wei humiliated my mentor Lin Guogong, and Lu refuted it out of filial piety. Otherwise, wouldn't I be like some people and become an unfaithful and unfilial dog thief? Wei Pingyuan was furious and was about to rebuke Lu Dutong. At this time, Emperor Baikan stopped the two of them. All right, Lu Dutong, please be patient. Yes. Emperor Baikan looked at Wei Pingyuan. Wei Aiqing, I have already said that Duke Lin is our loyal minister of the Baikan dynasty and the pillar of our country. I never believe that the Lin family will turn against him. The Lin family's private army is also a right that a hereditary prince should have. Let this matter rest here. Don't mention it again. As for Lin Zi's concealment, Emperor Baikan sighed, the Lin family has encountered changes. It is indeed my fault, Baikan dynasty, that I feel sorry for them. It's natural for Zaire to keep a low profile and bide his time. Besides, I am deeply pleased to have such a grandson. In the coming year, our Baikan dynasty will definitely give birth to an extraordinary and holy innate God-man, who will protect our Baikan dynasty's inheritance for eternity. The ministers bowed down respectfully, Your Majesty is wise. Congratulations to Your Majesty. Congratulations to Your Majesty. Quote. Emperor Baikan raised his hand to stop everyone. However, the Lin family's call for private troops will indeed have some impact on the order of the imperial capital. Quote. Well, it just so happens that the Golden Autumn Banquet assassin case has come to an end, and those students who pass the autumn examination will soon enter the court. I have also arranged an official position for Zaire. Xiao Guangzi, it's up to you to go to the Lin family to announce the decree, and tell Zaire by the way to let him pay attention to the impact. According to the order, Xiao Guangzi took the imperial edict prepared in advance and immediately went to the Lin family to announce the edict. Lin, soldiers from all walks of life were recalled one after another. They arrived at Lin's house one by one. On the way here, they all heard about the deeds of their young master Lin Zi. Naturally, they thought the same as those outside, thinking that their young master had been holding back for many years and was finally going to fight back. This made all the soldiers feel anxious. You know, their allegiance has never been to the Baikan dynasty, but to the Lin family. It's Lin Ao's bloodline. When the second outstanding figure of the Lin family and many brothers of the Lin family army were accidentally attacked by the Langdu kingdom, the Lin family army was furious. I wish I could make a big fuss and turn the whole Baikan upside down, so I can find out the mastermind behind the scenes, sacrifice him to the flag, and then destroy the Wolf City. Now that the young master finally has this idea and the ability, they must rush back to the Lin family no matter what, to avenge the tragic death of the Lin family brothers and the two Lin family heroes. The soldiers then rushed back to the Lin family with high spirits, waiting to meet their third-generation master of the Lin family. However, when they arrived at the Lin family, the soldiers realized that the young master had called them back not to cause trouble, but to treat their illnesses. It is said that the young master is not only highly skilled in cultivation, but also has superb medical skills. His skill in rejuvenation is even more exquisite than that of the imperial physician at that time. This made the soldiers stunned for a long time. But after a moment of silence, uncontrollable excitement arose in everyone's hearts again. The root of their illness has always been a thorn in the hearts of the soldiers. Over the years, they have suffered from the root of the disease and gone through hardships. They never wanted to erase it, return to a normal life, return to the Lin family, and be with the Lin family's brothers. How could they not be excited now that they finally had a chance to eradicate their pain? The soldiers did not doubt Lin Zi's strength. They all knew that their master Lin Ao was a very serious person. If there was no real hope of a cure, Lin Ao would never call them back so urgently and make their trip in vain. Then, in the Lin family compound, a long and hot queue formed from the courtyard to the outside. The soldiers were looking forward to seeing the young master who was as dazzling as the unparalleled Jade Master using his wonderful rejuvenation skills to cure the old diseases of the wounded soldiers. Every time someone is cured, the long queue becomes more eager. Okay, now it's just a matter of cultivation. Let's go over there. Thank you, Master. After the cured soldier bowed deeply to Lin Zi, he quickly went to Lu Hanyan's side so as not to delay the treatment of other brothers. The Lu family has been practicing medicine for generations, and as the daughter of the Lu family, Lu Hanyan is naturally proficient in medical skills. After learning that the wounded soldiers were returning for treatment, as a child of the Lin family, she volunteered to help. Of course, her medical skills were not even comparable to those of the imperial physician, so she was naturally unable to treat these wounded soldiers. Most of the time, Lin Zi is responsible for the major healing, while she handles the remaining minor problems and subsequent cultivation. Sitting on the edge of the pavilion, Lu Hanyan was looking at Lin Zi, who was concentrating on treating the wounded soldiers with a complicated expression. She thought she knew Lin Zi. As a result, after so many years, she actually never saw it through. Under this seemingly frivolous and mediocre appearance, it turns out that there has always been such a dazzling soul hidden. Quote. Lu Hanyan couldn't imagine what kind of force had been supporting Lin Zi's disguise for 10 years. In these 10 years, he has to restrain his youthful glory. We must restrain the youthful vigor and aggressiveness that young people should have. He has to bear the humiliation and bear the burden, and endure others saying that he is not useful, that he is not as good as Lin Jie, and that he has no successor in the Lin family. He also had to pretend to be annoying to reassure all the people who were secretly watching the Lin family. He must be very tired, right, miss? Ah, the voice of the wounded soldier brought Lu Hanyan back to her senses. She looked away in embarrassment, took a look at the condition of the wounded soldiers, and then prescribed a series of tonics. It's no problem. You just need to rest more and it will heal in 2 days at most. The wounded soldier nodded repeatedly. Thank you, miss, for your hard work, miss. Lu Hanyan shook her head and glanced at Lin Zi, who was concentrating on treating the wounded soldiers. Compared to him, I only did some trivial things. Lu Hanyan really wanted to know how Lin Zi's brain grew. How can a person reach such a level of genius and erudition? As the daughter of the Lu family who has been practicing medicine for generations, Lu Hanyan has studied various medical books and classics since she was a child, and is familiar with various medical classics. Her family also praised her for her talent and that she would definitely become a famous doctor in the future. Later, he was trained by the resources of the Lin family, and his medical skills progressed rapidly. But even so, Lu Hanyan can barely reach the level of a second-level medical officer in the Imperial Medical Office, and is still 2 levels away from the Imperial Medical Order, let alone the level of a master like Lin Zi. Not to mention the gap in cultivation and martial arts. And she is 1 year older than Lin Zi. The young master is indeed a man from heaven descending to earth. Hearing this, Xiaoqui also said good things about Lin Zi. After a moment, Xiaoqui looked back at Lu Hanyan. But there is no need to belittle yourself, miss. With such achievements at such a young age, miss is already a rare genius. The wounded soldier also said on the side. Yes, the young master and the young lady are both the true dragon and true phoenix of my Lin family. Lu Hanyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She never thought about competing with Lin Zi. It's just that she sighed a little when it came to medical skills. After dealing with the wounded soldier, Lu Hanyan was free again. She dealt with minor aftermath problems and didn't spend much time. On Lin Zi's side, it takes a lot of time to process each one. She waited patiently again, watching Lin Zi treat the wounded soldiers. Very focused. Lu Hanyan was lost in thought again. At this time, a strange and incomprehensible look was cast towards Lu Hanyan. It's Xiaoqui. Xiaoqui was looking at Lu Hanyan with surprise and a bit of fun. Lu Hanyan was shocked. She quickly withdrew her gaze and smoothed her hair by her ears, pretending to just take a casual look while she was smoothing her hair. The other side, Lin Ao and Lin Mo, who had been paying attention to the situation here, looked at each other and smiled knowingly. Young people, he picked up the teacup, buttoned it gently, and took a sip. Suddenly the fragrance of tea overflowed and my mouth was filled with saliva. The tea today smells so good. Busy time is always in a hurry. Soon, the sunset and stars were setting. Lin Zi was finally done. After a whole day of treatment, Lin Zi was also a little tired. Under the bright moonlight, Lin Zi practiced his breathing skills. The soft moonlight scattered on his body, and his hair shone with hazy brilliance, as if covered with a layer of moonlight gauze, as clear and beautiful as the moon, as quiet as the moon. Lu Hanyan stroked her hair gently and glanced at Lin Zi, who was adjusting his breathing. She walked over slowly and took out the silk to wipe the sweat from Lin Zi's forehead. At this time, Lin Zi suddenly opened his eyes. A pair of eyes as bright as the stars and as quiet as a deep pool showed a hint of wariness. It was exactly the same as the unfamiliar and wary look Lu Hanyan saw that day. That time, Lu Hanyan didn't understand why. Now she understands. Lin Zi was guarding against her. Just like guarding against the emperor and all those who are secretly detrimental to the Lin family. He doesn't believe in himself. So, sure enough, the pretending to be interested in her in the past was also a deliberate disguise to numb himself, right? What you up to? Lu Hanyan was silent for a moment, bit her lip, handed out the silk, wiped the sweat. Don't worry, it's not poisonous. No need, just take a shower after adjusting your breath. Lu Hanyan said nothing, took back the silk, turned and left. Halfway through the journey, she turned her head again and said seriously to Lin Zi, I am also a member of the Lin family. Lin Zi was noncommittal. After watching the original plot, can he still be deceived? Even if Lu Hanyan really thinks that she is a member of the Lin family now. But when the protagonist's aura begins to show off his wisdom and power, she won't think so. Although Lin Zi has now changed the plot of Xia Qinghei's Golden Autumn Banquet, there is no point of conflict with the protagonist. But the protagonist of this book is a contradiction maker with a halo of wisdom. Wherever he goes, he can trigger a silly plot where the supporting characters look down on him and give away treasures, money and the whole family. Even if Lin Zi changes the conflicting points of Jin Chuyan, there will always be other points that can force conflicts with the protagonist. Lin Zi had no doubt about this, because the protagonist of this book had never disappointed in forcibly creating conflicts. How could Lin Zi spoil him? Therefore, just in case, Lu Hanyan. He glanced at Lu Hanyan's leaving figure. After finishing the part of wounded soldiers, Lin Zi will sooner or later find a reason to drive out this traitor with a love brain aura. Thinking like this, Xiaoqui suddenly came to Lin Zi. Master, the Grand Eunuch of the palace has an imperial edict to announce. Seeing that you have been busy, he did not dare to disturb you. He has been waiting in the guest hall until now. Royal decree. Lin Zi's eyes narrowed slightly, I understand. After saying that, Lin Zi's figure turned into illusory feathers of light and disappeared. Living room. Pieces of illusory light feathers flew in. They are spirally intertwined and stacked one on top of the other. A familiar figure condensed in front of Eunuch Guang's eyes. Eunuch Guang, I've been waiting for a long time. Seeing Lin Zi's unique and strange way of showing up, Eunuch Guang's expression condensed. Is this incredible magical method really something that can be mastered by the peak acquired? Don't dare. Master Lin is busy with official duties and has many things to deal with every day. It's an unlucky time for this servant to come to you. As a close minister of the emperor, Eunuch Guang kept his attitude very low. He was able to climb from a young eunuch to his current status step by step, so naturally he could defeat the great king and the little king. To others, he just tried to act like a close official of the emperor. But Lin Zi, not to mention the young master's own skill, it would be enough to slap him to death. Lin Zi's special and noble identity alone is unique in the entire Baiken dynasty. If the Li family of the royal family is the great king, then the Lin family is the little king. And who has the final say between the big king and the little king? Anyway, it's not his little chambermaid who has the final say. Eunuch Guang, you're welcome. What message does Grandpa have to convey this time? Eunuch Guang said with a smile, it's a happy event. Your Majesty is going to promote you. Oh, Eunuch Guang took out the imperial edict. Master Lin, then our family has declared a decree. Father-in-law, please. Ahem, the Lin family and Lin Zi have been granted the title. Emperor Shengwu issued an edict. Lin Jialan's son Lin Zi killed the Jinzhou banquet assassin, brought order to the chaos, and saved the enemy. He should be rewarded. Today, Lin Zi is appointed as the chief envoy of the Mirror Division to supervise all officials and eliminate the evil forces in the imperial capital. In addition, Lin Zi, the chief envoy of the Mirror Department, is specially assigned to inspect Baiken Academy. He is responsible for inspecting the students who are successful in this autumn examination and inspecting the inside and outside of the academy. Don't let the evil spirits change the situation and change the situation. Appreciate this. Your Majesty, Lins, accept the order. Eunuch Guang respectfully presented the imperial edict to Lin Zi. General Ambassador Lin, congratulations. The chief envoy of the Mirror Division has a high position and has the power to supervise hundreds of officials and purge the imperial capital of life and death. His Majesty has always been reluctant to give this great position to his family members, so he keeps it for our own people. Eunuch Guang said flattering words and talked about his family. Lin Zi also smiled politely. Grandpa thinks highly of Lin Zi, and Lin Zi will never let him down. Eunuch Guang said again, Your Majesty, don't worry when your family is doing things. With the ability of Ambassador Lin, I believe he will never let go of any miserly person in the court. After finishing speaking, Eunuch Guang changed the topic again. Also, there is one more thing. Eunuch Guang, I just say it doesn't matter. That's right. The DPRK and China have some different opinions on the Lin family's private issuance of the summons order. Someone is making a fuss about this matter and wants to impeach the Lin family. Of course, the Lin family are the founding fathers of the country and loyal people who are loyal to the emperor and the country. Naturally, Your Majesty will not listen to those slanderous words and hurt the feelings of the family. However, the arrival of so many private troops in the imperial capital will have some unstable effects on the order of the imperial capital. Your Majesty hopes that General Ambassador Lin will pay attention to the impact and control the Lin family army. Lin Zi suddenly realized, so that's what happened. It's my fault. I was too impatient and forgot to inform my grandpa in advance. The cause of this incident was that Lin saw the world-famous Juji Mingzan needle from the Imperial Medical Office in the library that day, and he had some insights and his medical skills improved greatly. I think of the veterans who followed my Lin family in the north and south, and opened up and expand the territory of the Baiken dynasty. They left behind a lot of diseases and were attacked by diseases for the rest of their lives, unable to be clean. As heroes of Baiken, they should not have this ending. So, Lin summoned veterans from all sides to try to treat them. By the way, I also want them to find and collect more martial arts techniques for Lin. Eunuch Guang must also know that Lin has no big hobbies in his life. He only has a special liking for martial arts and likes to collect all kinds of rare classics from all over the world. I didn't expect it would cause a misunderstanding. It was Lin who didn't think carefully. Eunuch Guang complimented. General Manager Lin is proficient in the 8 Desolations war techniques, the 6 illusions of heavenly feathers, and the invisible sword finger and other advanced martial arts at this young age. Your love and talent in martial arts are naturally beyond the comprehension of ordinary people like me. It's embarrassing to say that Mr. Lin has already surpassed Baiken in martial arts at a young age. Our family is over 50, but we can't even comprehend 2 ancient manuscripts that we unexpectedly obtained. I guess our family has no connection with those 2 ancient books. Eunuch Guang sighed and said, This sword has been given to heroes since ancient times. It happens that Mr. Lin is interested in martial arts classics. We will have someone send it to you in a few days. At that time, if you understand something, please tell our family about it, and it will be one of our family's wishes." With these words, Eunuch Guang was giving Lin Zi a gift. A fool like Lin Zi who has reached the pinnacle of acquired talent at the age of 18 and has become a peerless genius would not be friends with him. Eunuch Guang is sure that as long as no accident occurs in the future, Lin Zi will definitely become an innate god. At that time, it will not be as simple as reciprocating a favor. At least it has to be a basket of plums. Easy to say. Okay, then our family won't disturb Mr. Lin. It's getting late, and our family is still in a hurry to go back and recover. Eunuch Guang, walk slowly. After a few polite words, Eunuch Guang returned to the palace. Lin Zi watched Eunuch Guang leave. Then his eyes fell on a dark place. I've been hearing this for so long. Do you still want me to invite you out? After a moment of silence. In the darkness, Yi Shaoran, who had a cold temperament and looked like a shadowy lone wolf, slowly walked out and exposed herself to the soft moonlight. Under the moon, Yi Shaoran's entire body was like a murderous weapon, with hidden edge and murderous intent all over his body. Even the clear moonlight became cold and piercing, as if it had turned into icy thorns, filling the air, and it was bone-chilling. The 8th level of the day after tomorrow. The acquired 8th level Yunshen realm, the strongest person below the acquired peak. Those who can achieve the 8th level of acquired skills are all powerful from a famous town. Thinking of the Lin family, only the housekeeper Lin Mo is an acquired 8th level expert. An acquired Ye took action personally. Lin Zi raised his eyebrows and commented with some relief, "That's right. You didn't use low-level parallel imports to fool me. You are quite sincere. These days, there aren't many villains who know how to use big tricks right from the start. If everyone was like him, how could the protagonist of the original book be alive today? If there was an assassin rating in this world, Lin Zi would give him an award. Let's take action. For your sincerity, I will give you 3 chances to take action." After saying that, Lin Zi stood with his hands behind his back, motionless, waiting for Yi Shaoran to take action. At this time, his movements were random and his posture was leisurely. In Yi Shaoran's eyes, they were all fatal flaws. According to past experience, if he takes action now, his chances of winning will increase by at least half. Yi Shaoran's eyes flickered, flickering on and off. He stepped forward slowly, putting his hands in front of him, as if he was about to strike a thunderous blow at the next moment. However, Yi Shaoran of Shira Villa has no intention of becoming an enemy of second young Master Lin. He came here this time to report important matters to second young Master Lin. Yi Shaoran clasped his hands and bowed to Lin Zi. "Second young Master Lin, someone hired me to kill you." Lin Zi was speechless. He was silent for a moment before saying with a complicated mood, "So you sold him?" Yi Shaoran chuckled. "Being an enemy of you is like a mantis trying to make a chariot and seeking death." Lin Zi of the Lin family is an 18-year-old who is at the peak of his acquired skills. He is also highly skilled in martial arts and is proficient in everything. His talent is so extraordinary that he is simply the reincarnation of a martial saint. In the future, he will surely rise to great heights and become a transcendent and wholly innate god. There are idiots who want to mess with such a character. Did your mother leave the placenta behind when she gave birth to you? Moreover, he was hired to kill Lin Zi, Yi Shaoran. Tisk, Yi Shaoran, am a killer, not a brainless person like you. As early as the moment when the man in black approached Yi Shaoran had already said honestly and professionally that he would not accept this task at Shira Villa. But the big enemy refused to listen, insisted on him taking it, and even mocked him. There was no other way. Yi Shaoran could only settle down and get a huge reward for nothing, and then come to Lin Zi to get some credit and become a familiar face. Yi Shaoran offered him the bottle of strange poison given to him by the man in black. This is a strange poison given to Yi by the person behind the scenes. It is said that it can seal the throat with blood. Even if it is the 9th level of the day after tomorrow, it will definitely die. Lin Zi suddenly lost interest. To be honest, after practicing so much kung fu, he actually wanted to fight. Pity. Who is the buyer? Lin Zi took the poison in Yi Xiaoran's hand, looked at it for a few times and asked casually. Yi Xiaoran replied, "The buyer deliberately concealed his identity. I don't know who it is." But, Yi Xiaoran pointed to the northwest of Baikan Imperial Capital. "That is the direction of Baikan Academy." Although he deliberately concealed his identity and made many twists and turns when he returned, changing his clothes and taking detours on purpose, our Asura Villa originally started out as an assassin by selling information. In front of Yi, how can he do anything he can with his modest skills? Yi secretly followed the buyer and followed him all the way. Finally, I found out that he entered Baikan Academy. Baikan Academy. Lin Zi narrowed his eyes. Speaking of Baikan Academy, it reminded him of a plot in the original book. In the original book, the protagonist began to rise to prominence in Baikan Academy. After showing his amazing talent, he was also attacked by people inside Baikan Academy, and more than once. Later, according to the protagonist's investigation, it was confirmed that there was a spy from the Langdu Kingdom among the senior officials of Baikan Academy. The spy was hiding in Baikan Academy and had been secretly observing all the students of Baikan Academy. Once a student appeared who could become a serious problem for Langdu Kingdom, he would immediately notify Langdu and carry out the assassination. Thinking about it this way, I am afraid that his strong rise has advanced this plot and caught the attention of wolves. Lin Zi's slightly narrowed eyes showed a flash of murderous intent. "Well, you wolf, I didn't bother you, but you came to the door yourself first." Regardless of whether there was another mastermind behind the deaths of the Lin family's two heroes and Lin Jie, Langdu, the direct enemy, would not be able to escape. Langdu had been on Lin Zi's must-kill list from the beginning. It's just that Lin Zi has been busy strengthening himself and building the Lin family in the past few days, and has no time to deal with other things. But now, Lin Zi has time to get away. Baikan Academy. Coincidentally, he also served as the picket for this autumn examination and was responsible for cleaning up Baikan Academy. Tomorrow I will take this opportunity to turn Baikan Academy upside down and find out that Wolf City spy. By the way, he also went to see the protagonist of this world. If there is a chance, let's get rid of this biggest unstable factor together. Thinking of this, Lin Zi glanced at Yi Xiaoran again. Yi Xiaoran, right, yes, tell me, what do you want? Yi Xiaoran said, as for the reward, someone has already given it. Yi came here just to make friends with Mr. Lin and build a good relationship. If there is an opportunity in the future, I hope that Mr. Lin can enjoy the meal. Lin Zi smiled and said, why wait for the future? There is a chance now. Master Lin, please tell me. I don't have any special hobbies. I just like all kinds of martial arts books and collect knowledge from hundreds of schools of thought in the world. You have many disciples in Shira Villa, so this task is not difficult for you. Understood. I have taken over this task at Shira Villa. From then on, every 7 days, Yi will send the collected secrets of the techniques to the Lin family. Lin Zi nodded. Yi Xiaoran was ready to leave. Before leaving, Lin Zi stopped him again. Etc. Master Lin, do you have any other instructions? You just said that your Shira Villa started out as an intelligence business. Exactly. Then do you know that the Langdu Kingdom attacked the Baikan army at night more than 10 years ago? Yi Xiaoran shook his head. Yi understands what Mr. Lin means. But our Shira Villa never comes into contact with military-related intelligence. That thing can easily lead to death. Whether it's the Baikan army or the Langdu army, they can easily destroy our Shira Villa. Young Master Lin is disappointed. It's okay, I'm just asking casually. Lin Zi didn't expect Yi Xiaoran to know much. If it were so easy to find out, Lin Ao would have found out the truth over the past 10 years. Go ahead. Yi Xiaoran turned around and left, disappearing into the shadows. The second day, there were also wounded soldiers arriving one after another. They were all too far away from the imperial capital. Even if they traveled all night, they would only arrive one after another the next day. Lin Zi asked Xiao Kui to settle them down first, and wait until everyone arrived in the evening before unified treatment. Lin Zi himself had already got on the carriage and headed to Baikan Academy. When Lin Zi went out, as usual, the two brothers from the Lin family army who were at the 6th level of acquired life followed him to protect him. Although everyone already knows Lin Zi's true strength, years of traveling have made it a subconscious habit for them. What's more, even if Lin Zi doesn't need protection, as the young master of the Lin family, how can he travel without a few caring followers? Baikan Academy. Lin Zi's carriage stopped steadily in front of the magnificent gate of the school. The senior officials of the university who had received the news early in the morning had been waiting patiently for a long time. This time Lin Zi came. He was no longer simply the young master of the Lin family. He is the newly appointed general envoy of the Mirror Division. He is on duty for this autumn examination and represents the royal family, the Li family, behind him. He is also a legendary genius who has reached the pinnacle of acquired talent. Therefore, all the senior officials of the school were waiting quietly in front of the school early in the morning, waiting for Lin Zi to come to inspect, to show their respect for Lin Zi, the proud man of heaven. Lin Zi got out of the car. Dressed in white clothes like snow, holding a folding fan, her long black hair was pulled into a half bun with a green jade hairpin, and she wore a piece of ancient mutton fat jade around her waist. She looked like a humble gentleman and as gentle as jade. At first glance, he seems to be just a handsome young man with no special strong demeanor. However, in the center of the crowd, a scholar in blue shirt suddenly felt his heart freeze when he saw Lin Zi for the first time. Because, as the master of Baikan Academy, a 9th-level acquired man, ranked 6th on the divine martial ranking, he could not feel the slightest aura of Lin Zi at first glance. Obviously, Lin Zi's cultivation realm has not just reached the peak of the acquired 9th level. He has already walked on this road for a while and has reached the state of returning to nature. It was scarier than he intuitively expected. The green-shirted scribe suppressed his emotions and led everyone in the academy to salute Lin Zi. Zhang Tong of Baikan Academy has met Mr. Lin. I've met Mr. Lin. Is Zhang Tong here today? Lin Zi's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw the blue-shirted scribe Zhang Tong. He remembered correctly, Zhang Tong seemed to be 6th on the divine martial arts list. No need to be polite. After saying that, Lin Zi waved the folding fan gently. The void creates waves. With a gust of breeze, an irresistible overbearing force forced everyone's bodies to straighten, making them unable to move. Unprepared, even an acquired master like Zhang Tong was corrected. And that power has not weakened at all. It is condensed and ready to go, as if it deliberately leaves Zhang Tong time to react. Quote. Is this considered a display of authority? Under such an obvious provocation, Zhang Tong, a strong man on the Shenwu list, subconsciously wanted to use his strength to resist and force the ceremony to go on. But when I turned around, I realized that Lin Zi was here to inspect Baikan Academy on behalf of the royal family today. He should establish this power. Therefore, Zhang Tong did not resist, let the soft power operate, and said, "It is said that Mr. Lin is a genius with profound cultivation. It's really extraordinary when I see you today." Quote. Lin Zi laughed. He was smiling but not smiling. 6th on the divine martial ranking, 6th on the divine martial ranking. You're so proud. I'm deliberately trying to find trouble with you. Can't you feel it? Where is your majesty as a peak acquired power? Lin Zi was helpless. How did the protagonist in the original book trigger combat plots wherever he went? Quote. Palace Master Zhang has given me the award. After saying something calmly, Lin Zi walked into Baikan Academy. Master Zhang, you also know the purpose of my visit today. What happened at the Golden Autumn banquet a few days ago made Grandpa very unhappy. Zhang Tong said quickly, we at Baikan Academy have always been loyal to the emperor and the country. We are all people of pure character. We have never had such rebellious behavior to deceive the emperor. This time, a traitor actually sneaked into the students and ruined the reputation of our Baikan University. Zhang really never thought that that traitor is really hateful. Palace Master Zhang, Lin is not here to listen to your complaints. Zhang Tong said again, understood. General, please rest assured that Zhang has conducted a thorough investigation inside and outside the school in the past few days, rechecked all students' files and collected evidence for inspection again. Any students who have any doubts have been recorded and temporarily sent to a branch outside the imperial capital for observation and further investigation. Quote. The students staying in the imperial capital now are definitely from Baikan with clean family backgrounds and clear origins. The ridiculous things at the Golden Autumn banquet will never happen again. After saying that, the masters around Zhang Tong quickly took out the student files that had been prepared for Lin Zi to look through. But I have always been good at fabricating things like files. Lin Zi didn't care and just flipped through it casually. He didn't really want to investigate the case for the royal family anyway. It's none of his business how the royal family is, the Lin family and his own affairs haven't been cleared up yet. He just came here to find out the traitor in Langdu, and to find an opportunity to get rid of the unstable factor of the protagonist of the original book. After flipping through it casually, Lin Zi said, "The student may be clean, but what about the master?" As soon as these words came out, everyone present was stunned. Just listen to Lin Zi continue to say. This traitor in the Wolf capital is really powerful. He was able to sneak into Baikon's #1 academy without arousing the suspicion of any of the teachers. Lin remembers that the masters at Baikon Academy must have at least the 6th level of acquired education and above, right? At least the masters of the acquired 6th level and above, plus Palace Master Zhang, a master of the acquired peak who is famous on the divine martial arts list, can't even stand a few little spies. Snapped. Lin Zi gently closed the folding fan in his hand, making a crisp sound. His tone also became slightly chilly. So, is it because the teaching level of your teachers at Baikon Academy is limited? Or are some of you deliberately covering up? As soon as Lin Zi finished speaking, the expressions of all the teachers and disciples present changed. General Ambassador Lin, we have been teaching and educating people at Baikon University. We have been working very hard. You have been here for at least 20 years. How can we be spies of Langdu? Yes. There hasn't been any trouble in Baikon Academy for so many years. If we were spies, wouldn't there have been trouble a long time ago? And how can we, Baikon Academy, have the guts to plot against the Imperial Court? If we are an enemy of the Imperial Court, isn't that just throwing an egg against a stone and destroying yourself? Mr. Lin, please stop making such jokes. Lin Zi chuckled, don't have the guts. I think you are quite brave. You don't dare to murder the Imperial Court, so you dare to murder my Lin family. What does Mr. Lin mean by this? Everyone was puzzled. When did Baikon Academy dare to murder the Lin family? What for? Lin Zi's mind moved, and an invisible, formless, and imperceptible wave spread throughout the entire place. Immediately afterwards, an exquisite bottle appeared in front of everyone. This bottle should look familiar to some of you, right? Hearing this, everyone's eyes pointed at the bottle. What's in this bottle? The government official Zhang Tong asked in confusion. Lin Zi didn't answer. He stopped, turned his head, and looked directly at a middle-aged man hiding behind the crowd. Your heart is beating very fast. The middle-aged man's expression changed. He forced himself to calm down and said, my heart rate is always higher than. Lin Zi didn't listen to his excuses. Everything is invisible under his mental force field. As soon as the jade bottle appeared, his heartbeat suddenly accelerated, but Lin Zi could hear it clearly. Even if the person who hired Yi Xiaoran was not him, he would have absolutely nothing to do with it. Then, Lin Zi stretched out his right palm, and the terrifying suction force instantly created a world-destroying storm. Buzz buzz. The strong suction force caused the middle-aged man to fly towards Lin Zi uncontrollably. Clatter. Lin Zi put his big hand on the middle-aged man's head, lifted him up and hung him in the air. The powerful force squeezed the middle-aged man's entire head almost out of shape. You, what are you doing? This is Baikon Academy. Mansion. Master, save me. Sensing Lin Zi's terrifying murderous intention, the middle-aged man quickly asked for help and moved out of Baikon Academy. The sudden change made everyone look shocked, and their faces were a little ugly. After all, their Baikon Academy is one of the top forces in Baikon, with a master like Zhang Tong sitting in charge of the academy. At the peak of the day after tomorrow, do you really think that this existence that can hold an army of 100,000 people and block an entire country is just a decoration? Don't you see, something happened at the Golden Autumn Banquet. The 3 officials of the Imperial Court were all trained like dogs, but Baikon Academy was the only one who was handled lightly and let them clean up and give an explanation. In their Baikon Academy, even behemoths like the royal family would not act arbitrarily without saying a word. Because this represents the face and prestige of the strongest person under the innate God-man, the acquired peak. Second young Master Lin, what are you doing? You are too presumptuous to do it without asking any questions. Mansion Zhang Tong's face also darkened. General Ambassador Lin, Master Zhang entered our Baikan Academy 10 years ago. He has been working hard for the past 10 years and has never had any second thoughts. He does not dare to harm Baikan, let alone the Lin family. Please investigate clearly before speaking. Lin Zi said calmly, okay, I will be polite first and then fight, lest you say that I am an unreasonable barbarian. Last night, I was attacked by an assassin. And the mastermind behind this is your people from Baikan Academy. This bottle of strange poison was given to the assassin by the man behind the scenes. And you, Mr. Zhang, only he, after seeing this bottle, his heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Lin Zi glanced at everyone. Now, do you understand? Quote. After hearing this, the expressions of everyone present changed. Assassinate Lin Zi. Assassinate a strong man who is at his peak the day after tomorrow. Your brain is damaged. Very good, it seems there is no need to be reasonable. After saying this, Lin Zi increased his strength in his hands. Master Zhang suddenly shouted in pain. Tell me, who asked you to assassinate me? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.